wants to open it up?
You can open it up.
All right, bet. I like opening
I'm
up
gonna
the
tell
awards
you
one.
something when we get started. Go ahead.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to one of our favorite times of the year. It is the end of the year, start of the new year, depending on whenever you are listening. It is the end of the year for when we're recording this, so that means all movies have been released. We have digested what we felt like we would like and what we wanted to watch, and we compiled a best of list. Now, this one is going to be just theatrical streaming. Just basically, this isn't a physical media list for this one, so pretty much anything's fair game as far as I'm aware. There's not really any strict criteria or anything. Like as an example, Hundreds of Beavers. It's not on anything on my list, unfortunately. Sorry to break your hearts out there, but like that premiered in 2022 at a film festival, so its official release date is 2022, but it didn't come out until this year. It was released on streaming and everything in 2024. So if it did and it hits that criteria, it is welcome on the list, guys. So just to break down exactly how we're going to do it before we get into story time in a second, we're actually going to do it different from last year. Last year, we just picked our top 5 and then we went a round table. We would take a few minutes and talk about each title. We're still going to do that a little bit more jumpy for runtime, but we've also added kind of our own little golden globes. I guess they're from screen to shelf globes, if you want to call them that. So
Ooh,
we
that's
also have
fancy.
categories. We have categories for best actor, best actress, best score, best cinematography, and then we'll give you our top 5 leading to what each of us believes to be the best picture of the year. So without further ado, Gabe, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good, dude. How are you doing? We
Great.
both have a drink, going, and Will's on that Mississippi water.
Mississippi water.
Mississippi water. Yeah, I'm on that
Um,
water.
yeah, man, I'm excited. I mean, there's been a lot of good movies. I mean, it was a weird movie or a weird year because it was like the beginning of the year was like dead, and then all of a sudden, all these like amazing releases started coming out. Like I felt like the latter half of the year. So, I'm excited, dude. I don't know if you want to get started with like the best actor for the Golden Globe nominations.
Sure. I mean, I guess I can fire away.
Yeah.
Because actually, best actor is one of the reasons I asked you guys if you wanted to do this, because there is somebody from this year I don't think is getting their dues. And they are 2 movies or appearances. I think he has like 3 or 4 that came out this year, but there were 2 I was super excited about. So to build up to the winner, basically for my 2 runner-ups, what I gave like second and third place, that is actually going to be Corey Michael Smith from Saturday Night.
Mm.
He fucking kills it. He
Oh,
plays Chevy Chase, so
Yeah, I've
he
heard
just
good
fucking
things about
kills
it.
it. Yeah. Honestly, I could throw a dart on a dartboard and really just any of the cast members from this, I could just praise them. But there was just something about like, if you've heard about Chevy Chase and you've heard how big of an asshole he is behind the scene, he just like I really thought that was Chevy Chase just DH. Like
wow.
it really just hit. The performances are some of the best in any movie of the year. Like that's where all the budget went to, was to the talent. So shout out them. And to ride a recent hype train, I am going to give my second place nod to Mr. Skarsgård, one of my
Mm.
favorite actors for his performance in Nosferatu. I really don't need to glaze that or really say anything different, because that's really what some of the biggest buzz about the movie is about, is his performance. There's nothing I really have to
Mhm.
add to that conversation. But a conversation I do have some pennies to add into the coin jar for is going to be for my guy who is getting the Best Actor award, Sebastian Stan. And the
Mm.
reason for that is because of 2 movies that I actually just watched about a week ago. There was one, it was just kind of out of curiosity, and that was The Apprentice.
Mhm.
Regardless of what your alignment is or anything, I'm in store and I am on board for whatever the subject matter of a movie is for. If I'm getting in for a good performance, I don't care. So I
Hmm.
rented it. I think it was like $5 on Apple TV or to buy it. And I did. And holy shit. Shout out also, I believe his name is Jeremy Strong, who plays Roy Khan in
Dude,
that.
he's
His
fantastic.
oh my God. Like if we had done best supporting, that's why I was like, yeah, we can do that. Dude, there's
Mhm.
no way he doesn't sweep that category. And nobody that's giving him his dues. That's one of the most insane acting skill sets I've seen all year. And there's been some great contenders. But Sebastian Stan is Trump. Basically, he goes from this timid, shy guy until he meets Roy. and then literally over the entire time you see him into what we perceive Trump to be today. And I
Mhm.
just thought it
Yeah.
was extremely insane to see somebody be able to get those mannerisms while still being different enough to let you know, like, hey, I'm not an imitation of what you see on the news. This is, older.
Yeah.
And I really respected that. And then also in A Different Man, he has a monologue about 20 minutes in, whenever he's in his disfigured form. Not a spoiler, it's in the trailer. But he's kind of doing something, and he just gives a long monologue about just wishing how he could, be in love and stuff. And it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. That's one
Mhm.
that's my pearl, monologue for this year. That monologue was
Damn.
powerful. It was great, and just to see that range from somebody that comes from a superhero movie. Sometimes we see people that just kind of their careers they just don't do a lot of exciting stuff. So that's why I wanted to be like, hey, what you doing over here, man? So
Mhm.
I just checked him out. I wasn't expecting shit, and holy hell, he really, really deserves it. And I really wish I and hope to see his name on some actual Academy Awards. A Different Man apparently won like the British equivalent of an Oscar or something like that. So they're getting their dues over there. So yeah, Sebastian Stan's gonna win my best actor for the year. Highly
Nice.
recommend anybody that hasn't watched those two movies, do it. You're missing out.
He's
Yeah, I
an
was
incredible
interested
actor.
in yeah, he's pretty good. I was interested in The Apprentice. Go ahead, Gabe. I'll let you go. I was just gonna say shout out to Jeremy Strong. He's a
Oh, same here, bro. That's what I was
Massachusetts
gonna say.
Massachusetts native, so
Yeah.
He's fantastic in
really
everything
underrated
he's in.
actor. Yeah.
He's
He's
in that new
incredible,
Apple
man.
TV series everybody's watching right now, right?
I don't know, man. I've seen him in so many
Severance?
movies. I think the first time I actually saw him was oh my god, what's that movie I told you to watch, Chase, with the housing collapse that I watch all the
Oh, Big
time?
Short?
Oh, The Big
Big
Short. Yeah,
Short.
he's great in
Yeah,
that.
he was
Yeah.
in that movie, and I think that was the first time
Oh,
I saw him.
yeah.
But
Yeah, he
he's just a
was.
fantastic actor, man. But I have to agree, dude. I mean, like this was the toughest category, at least with the films I was able to watch this year, and I think I'd have to give it to Nosferatu for best actor, Skarsgård, because he just
That's
that
insane. Hell
performance.
yeah.
It's just I think I knew. No, I mean this isn't really a spoiler, but I mean there's a scene like near the fireplace. It's kind of like when you first see him in the movie, and just like as soon as you hear the voice, dude. It just like sent chills down my spine. It's such an incredible performance, and I don't know how he's able to get that range. You know what I mean? Where he's able to do something like Pennywise the clown to being Nosferatu. He's just, I think he's probably, at least in terms of like mannerisms and voice and all that stuff, he's probably one of the better method actors I've seen in the past few years. So I'd have to give it to Nosferatu for best actor, Skarsgård. That would be my pick for that category.
Can't disagree. That's amazing.
Will, what about you, man? Best actor?
Uh, yeah, so we were talking before we rolled. I was talking about Nicholas Holt just because I've been really impressed with him. He's had a really good year,
Mhm.
obviously with Nosferatu. I think he was fantastic in that, and Juror number 2. But you got me thinking, man. It was very hard because Skarsgård is so good. I mean, I
Yeah.
He's
really
generational talent.
I got to give it to him. And Nicholas Holt is like a close second though, because Nicholas
Mhm.
Holt has really become. It's funny because I've been aware of him for so long, ever since I think the first time I saw him was that movie Warm Bodies from all these years ago.
Oh yeah, I remember that
Um,
movie.
if you guys remember that,
Yeah.
again, I got the steel book of that. I don't know when that came out, last year, the year before, but I hadn't seen that movie in so long. And when I watched that movie, I was like, damn, that's Nicholas Holt. Um,
Mhm.
it's like I forget that he's been in some movies that I've seen years and years ago, and such a talented guy. But I got to give it to Skarsgård because anytime you see a performance that's so transformative, it just kind of it's like it's almost like you can't believe that it's that person. And
Mhm.
Chase and I did a review on Nosferatu. So for those of you who are listening or watching, check out our review of Nosferatu, and we kind of touch on that, the fact that he really just has this ability to disappear into a character. But this was like on another level. Like the fact that his voice is it just doesn't sound like him. It's like it's
Mhm.
not him,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
if I didn't know he was in the movie, if I didn't see it on the credits or on the, promotional material, I would not have known that it was him,
Mhm.
because it's that convincing. And it's
Yeah.
kind of funny, like, even when I saw it in the theater Christmas Day, you could hear people whispering, like, his name pops up in the credits, they're like, "Damn, that's him?" You know?
Mhm.
Yeah. You
It's
wouldn't have
so
known.
eerily yeah, it's he's so convincing. And that scene you brought up when he's next to the fireplace, I think that's when he's in the castle.
Yeah.
That's when you kind of first see him, and even then he's kind of like steeped in shadow, so you can
Mhm.
see like minor details of his character. And then obviously as the movie goes on, he's revealed more so, and it's amazing the work that they did, but just the work that he did to absorb himself in that character. So yeah, I got to give it to Skarsgård. Um,
Yeah. And he wasn't,
I
I mean, he
can't
I don't think
not.
he was nominated for anything, was he? For Golden Globes?
No, not for Golden
Supporting.
Globes, I don't believe,
That's wild.
unless you guys see him anywhere on there. But I think, Nosferatu, it came out so late in the year. I mean, maybe it'll end up being in contention come, the Oscars, but I think it was just too close, as far as
Probably.
when the release date was to the Golden Globes. So, but I hope to see it get some consideration because that can't go unnoticed. You got to give him credit for that. So yeah, I'm going with Skarsgård.
Unanimous decision for Best Actor, Mr. Skarsgård.
Yeah.
Now we're moving on to Best Actress, which Chase told me before rolling that you said I'd be surprised with this one.
Oh no, for best actress, no, it's not
No?
surprising at all. I would
Oh,
say my
okay.
best picture would
Best
definitely be
Picture might be
surprising.
surprising. Who do you have for Best
Yeah.
Actor?
So for best actress, there's definitely two people that I want to give a nod to, and the very very first one is going to be Mikey Madison as a runner up for Honora. Insane performances. I had told you guys a little bit as to like why that performance had jived with me, and it's just like she really just encapsulated the role. Like it's really, 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 really powerful, and it's going to go down as an incredible performance, like it already has. But yeah, my first winner is absolutely no surprise, and that's going to be Demi Moore for The Substance. It was just an absolutely batshit insane performance. Like just everything that she does, the amount of mental gymnastics you probably have to do with yourself as an actor and or an actress, her specifically in the situation to convey what you're going through with your body, with your mind, with your speech, with everything. It's just a lot of talent, just like Mikey.
Mhm.
It could really go either way. It's just the subject matter of Substance jives with me a little bit more, and that little
Mm.
fantasy element to it just kind of makes me give it that little bit more of an edge versus just real life. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Demi Moore for Substance.
Hell yeah.
We're in agreement again, bro. That is my Best Actress for the year, is Miss Demi Moore, Substance.
Hell yeah.
And I think it's definitely, I think what makes that performance so haunting and so convincing is just, she's kind of at war with herself. And it's, the scene that always sticks out to me is the one in the kitchen when
Oh
she's when
yes.
that scene just, I think that's what solidified to me that that was probably the best performance by an actress that I'd seen all year, because it's just so
Mm,
fucking disturbing to watch.
yeah,
It's just so
it is.
terrifying. And like I said, she's at
Yeah.
war with herself the whole movie, and that's a difficult thing to play off it when when you're by yourself on the screen, because she is by herself a lot of her scenes in that movie. She's on her own, and
Yeah,
she's having to
exactly.
convey so much on her own, and I think she just does such a fantastic job doing it. So that was actually my pick for Best Actress, was Miss Demi Moore for Substance.
Hell yeah.
I got to jump on that bandwagon too.
Let's
Hey.
go.
Although I will say,
Sweet, sweet,
no,
sweet,
I
sweet.
will say though, this was hard, man, because
Mhm.
there's some years where it's not as hard to like look at these movies, but it's just there's been so many, like even I want to shout out like Lily Rose Depp and Nosferatu, like to call her
Oh
out
yeah.
because I haven't really seen her in a lot, you know.
Mhm.
I was telling Chase when we did our review in that movie that a buddy of mine was like, "Oh, I don't think I've seen this chick in anything other than like that Yoga Hosers movie," which I have never seen, but I hear it's not that good.
It's bad.
But so it's like she kind of came out of nowhere, for me at least, and I felt like she was absolutely phenomenal in that. I mean, shout out to Margaret Qualley in, The Substance
Yes.
as well. I thought
Yeah.
she was just as good, but I think Demi Moore is
Just that
I mean,
edge.
she
Mhm.
just has the edge because not only was she fantastic in the movie, but I think this movie was an interesting role for her to take because, she's been somebody who's been in the business for a while. I mean, the things that happen in this movie in regards to the story and how her character is viewed in the movie, I'm sure that as an actress who's aging, you know, Demi Moore's probably had to deal with that, so
Mhm.
there's a lot of shit about that role that just seems like real to me. and it was because of her performance. I mean, it's just convincing. Like, you believe that her character is like dealing with this kind of stuff, and it's like Chace, you were saying, it's like it's like on a molecular level. You know, she's not just doing it with words. It's her body language and the way that she just moves about. You know, you can feel the insecurities of her character and her vulnerabilities, and that is like not something that you really see too often. You know, where it's like they're working on like multiple channels, and I thought that that was really impressive. So I got to go with her. Um, Again, just a super convincing role. So
Hell yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Demi for the win.
Unanimous decision. I do want to shout out Lily Rose Depp though, because I was telling Chase, I think, or I was on the Discord. I think
Yeah.
she literally has the best like possession performance that I've seen in a long time in Nosferatu, with like her
Yeah.
eyes rolling
It's
back
good.
and her tongue to the side. I was like, oh my god,
Oh yeah,
this is nuts, and she does a
very
phenomenal job in that movie.
physical performance, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. It's like that was that was like the tiebreaker for me too, because I wanted to go with like Lily Rose, because like I'm fresh off of Nosferatu. You know, I just
Hmm.
saw it last week, as we all did, but and that like really stuck with me. But I was thinking back, and it was like I'm gonna watch The Substance again, obviously, but when I think back to Demi's performance, it's just there's so much more vulnerability there. But I think because of where she is in her real life and her professional career, I just think there's a lot of parallels with her character in the movie. And that to me is so
Yeah.
cool that she took on a role like that, because I just feel like she brought so much to it.
Yeah.
Um
Hell yeah.
and yeah,
Sweet.
man, it's I had to go with The Substance. So Demi for the win.
Demi for the win. Cool. We're at
That's great.
best score, Chase.
Best score.
I
This
think
one
we
was
might
actually
agree with this one. I
hard.
don't know. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah,
we
this one
were
was hard.
okay.
Because like there's some where like there's some movies that had some iconic scores, like
Mhm.
Furiosa. I believe it was Tom Holkenborg returned for Furiosa, and he did a score again. I believe I forget, he did another one. But there's been some movies that haven't been good where like the score just all the budget went to that.
Mhm.
Mm.
And there's a movie I had just talked about with Sebastian Stan where it probably wouldn't be a score that you would turn on in your car on your way to work, but it's just how much it elevated certain scenes. Like it was so dramatic, it was so emotional where it just elevated it. But it was very subtle. Like even just
Mhm.
bringing up like best score or anything for it, it's kind of weird, but that's going to be a different man. It's going to win runner up. And I
Mhm.
think this year, I think there are great scores out there. But I think this should kind of be a sweep that Challengers is the best score of the year because it's insane. It's Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor, and it goes insane in Challengers. The score is just phenomenal. It's just even if you're not into that type of music, it's
Mhm.
great. So yeah, Challengers best score.
I'm rolling with Dune Part 2 just because
Oh
I
really?
that's the one. I mean, it's just something about that score, dude, that I don't know if it's just, I mean, coming off the first one too, a year or two ago, but just Hans Zimmer, man, he's just a fucking genius, and that score, especially when you listen to it theatrically, it just does something to you, and I think it's fucking fantastic. So I have to give it to Dune Part 2.
Interesting. Yeah,
Will,
great score.
what you got, man?
Score was really hard for me, because again, I was like trying to remember what like, watching these movies. But I went back about a month ago and just listened to a bunch of scores, and I said this before we rolled. I'm going to go with Challengers, just because I'm a big fan of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I think they do fantastic work. And Atticus Ross, he's been with him forever. Going all the way back to the Nine Inch Nails days, and this should be a testament to how good that score is, because Chase, you've seen the movie, right?
Hmm.
I haven't even seen the movie. Okay. I've just listened to parts of that score, and I just love it. So that's my
Yeah, it's
pick.
so good.
Um, and dude, those two guys have been busy. For anybody that's interested in their other work, I mean, they did that show, The Franchise, which I believe is like an HBO original, but he's done a lot of Luca's movies, Luca Guadagnino's movies. He actually, I guess they worked on Queer as well, which I haven't seen,
Hmm.
but that's on the list of things to check out. And he did that movie Bones and All from a
Oh,
couple years
really?
ago. Yeah,
That was
that's
his
another one
score,
of
wasn't
Luca's
it?
films. They did The Killer, that the movie with Michael Fassbender that came out. I think that was last year. So those two guys have been killing it, dude.
Yeah, they're great.
Bird Box. They did Bird Box.
Did they really?
Gone Girl.
Hmm.
Yeah, Bird Box, Gone Girl. I'm trying to think of what else. I think they did like The Social Network, so they've worked with Fincher. I mean, these guys have been just on fire for the last decade,
Yeah.
which is crazy to think about how many movies they've done the score for. So yeah, Challengers is my pick.
Hell yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, totally understandable. And then now that leads us to our last subcategory, guys.
Best
So
cinematography, which isn't a Golden Globe
yeah.
category. I just fucking found that out right now.
Really? It's not?
Yeah, it's not. It's a retired category, which I mean, it's obviously with the Academy Awards still, but it's not with the Golden Globes this year.
Well, that's whack.
That is whack, but we're still gonna fucking go with it and still get
Yeah, hell yeah, we are.
our best
So,
cinematography for the year.
I think that this was probably the most contentious category that's not best picture, to be honest. Because I think we've seen a lot of people really try a lot of things different this year, and I think it's really paid off. So my runner-up is going to be I Saw the TV Glow. The cinematography in that
Okay.
movie is just fucking
Mm.
crazy. Like it is
Yeah,
insane. Like if
dude.
you've seen Suspiria, was it 1970 Suspiria?
Yeah.
Just amplify it. It's just like that. It's crazy. But yeah, that'll be my runner up. And then my primary winner is gonna be The Substance. The zoom in angles, the camera work on
Mm.
that. I don't think we have anything that comes close to it. Again, I think there's things that are a little bit more professionally well done, if you know what I mean by that, where it just has
Mm.
that nice, clean, professional look, shot well, just a very fluid cinematography aspect to it. This one just has a lot of abstractness that happens with that camera, with what's happening in front of you. And
Mm.
yeah, that's gonna win my best cinematography.
That's a good pick,
Hell
dude.
yeah.
This one's a tough one, dude. I'm gonna go just a shout out runner up because I don't think this film's gonna get mentioned, and I mean, obviously, I don't think it will. But Long Legs, I felt like was shot very, very well. I felt like
Hell
it
yeah.
really had a unique kind of cinematic style that no other movie this year had. It was very kind of claustrophobic, and just some of the shots are just really, really unique, and the atmosphere of the
Mhm.
movie was really, really unique. So I wanted to give that one a shout out just because I felt like that movie's shot really, really well. I'm gonna have to go with Civil War for best cinematography, man.
Yeah.
Just because I felt like that one, that movie just goes from being just so brutal sometimes, but also capturing like just super, amazing moments of like pure human emotion.
Yeah.
Um, and it does it really, really well. So I want to shout out to Civil War because I think that one definitely stood out to me this year. So I'll give it to Civil
It's a
War,
great
but
one.
shout out to Nick Cage and Longlegs too, because
Yep.
he did a great fucking job in that movie. We didn't talk about it enough, but yeah, Civil War for
No,
best
agreed.
cinematography.
Honestly, man, I kind of forgot about that movie. Like, and
Same.
I don't mean that in a bad way. It just came out so early. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it came out like what was it? It was
I think it
before
March.
was
October,
April,
right? Was
March or
it? No
April.
way.
Yeah, it was
Wait, did you
April.
just say
Shit.
October?
Yeah, dude, I
No,
swear to
April.
God, I
Dude,
felt
there's
like it.
no way. There's no, bro. You're off by
Wait, you
100,
thought it was
Yeah.
October?
Or I felt like it was like
180
August,
days.
November, October, or something like that. No freaking
No
way. I'm
way,
checking right now.
bro. When did the 4K come out? Because even the 4K has been
Summer.
out
It came out in
for
July.
Yeah,
yeah,
summer. I remember
damn,
that.
bro.
Wow. Oh yeah, dude, because
Yeah,
I was on my cruise and you guys were saying you were gonna watch it. And I was telling you guys I was
Yeah.
jealous because now I
Yeah.
remember. Holy shit,
Yep.
dude.
yeah.
Yeah, this year
Yep.
flew by.
Yeah, I did. This year blinked. But yeah, great
Yeah,
shout out, man. I knew it came out. It's just it's been since the 4K drop that I've seen it.
yeah,
So
for
I
sure.
definitely need to revisit that. But yeah, great pick, man.
Cool. Will, what about you, man? Best cinematography.
A couple runners up. I mean, yeah, I definitely want to shout out Long Legs because I think they did a lot of interesting shots with, those awkward camera angles to make you kind of
Mhm.
feel that unease. That's
Yeah.
something I haven't necessarily seen in a while. And then, my main runner up, The Substance, man. Again, that
Hell yeah.
movie as a whole, just the style of the cinematography is so it just kind of hits you over the head. It's very aggressive and in your face like the movie itself, and I can't ignore that. I love the way that movie was shot, but I got to give it to my boy Eggers for Nosferatu because the
Mhm.
shadow work that they did in this movie to know that most of it was all practical
Yeah.
is awesome.
And
So
shot on
I
film too.
can't
I think that movie was shot on
shot
film.
on shot on film and mostly, like, from what I've told, mostly all practical
It's
shadows that
so
they used in the
crazy.
movie, which is so crazy to think about. And again,
That's so tough to
I'm
do in that
trying to.
fireplace scene too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like this is the thing. It's like people, like, that's not stuff that's done anymore,
Mhm.
and that's what I love about it, is that he, maintained some of that, old school, the filmmaking from that era, back in the 20s and the 30s, where, they employed that kind of stuff. And even into,
Mhm.
like, the 40s and 50s. I mean, I'm not going to say that not that it went away completely. It's just not something that we've seen in such a long time. And for them to bring that back the way that they did, and would just do such a fantastic job with it. I mean, Eggers is known for, his movies being very visual
Yeah.
to begin with. But that just elevated it, dude. Like, the shadows, just to see that on screen, and imagine how they got that to work. I mean, it gets me excited just to think about it. So I got to give it to Nosferatu. Brilliant work.
Nosferatu, dude. So, and shout
Great.
out too to the because I know we mentioned a lot of like the shadows and stuff like that, but also a lot of like the moonlight scenes where he like
Mm,
he's able to kind of capture almost like this black and white kind of. It's not black and white, but it's like moonlight, and
Like
it was like
grayscale.
yeah, like
it's a
the grayscale on
grayscale.
it. It's just
Yeah.
like really beautiful to see. Like I loved those
Yeah.
scenes,
Yeah.
seeing kind of just the moonlight. So shout out to Eggers, man. He always knows what he's doing.
That's wonderful. Those are all great. And so, yeah, we
Best
blew through
picture.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
getting
So
let's
into
go
the
to
big
Gabe.
boy
disclaimer,
stuff.
we got a
Yes.
disclaimer, because obviously we haven't seen every movie,
Yeah,
everybody.
there's no
Yes.
way.
So,
I
there's a
tried.
lot of movies. We tried our best, especially in these last couple weeks. We've been going
Yeah.
hard trying to watch all these
Yeah.
movies, because people are, like, recommending, and we're recommending movies to each other, and it's like
It's
crunch
hard to
time.
keep
But
up. Yeah.
it's hard to
Yeah,
keep up, and there's been so many great movies.
this is our
Mhm.
best
So
from what we've seen. And if for
exactly.
And
some reason, yeah, a
Yep.
movie isn't listed, it's just maybe we just haven't had the time to
Yeah.
see it yet.
And just
yes.
so everybody knows, Gabe, Oppenheimer cannot be entered
Are you
on the
sure?
list. That
Are
was
you
a
sure?
20 yes, that was
Got it.
2023.
Okay,
Okay. This is 2024. So just to clear the
got
air,
it.
just make sure we
What if
all
I
know
pull some like
Oppenheimer can't be
Tenet thing and
chosen.
I put in a capsule and then it pops up this year? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Oh, yeah, right, right.
No, his number
No.
one movie this year is The Odyssey, just for being announced, not
Yeah.
even being in
Yeah,
production.
yeah, it's not even in production yet.
That's how you know I've been so behind watching shit though, because I texted you guys. I'm like, bro,
Yes.
he's
Like a
doing the
week later.
Odyssey, and then Chase is like, dude, this is like old
People
news.
are like, yeah, it's like old news.
I was waiting
That's
for you
so
to bring it
funny.
up
Oh,
to
dude,
me,
I've
and I
just been
figured,
so busy. I've just
yeah,
been
no,
so
that's
fucking
fair.
busy. But yeah, it was funny when you told me that. I looked at the news article, like the date it was like 3 or 4 days ago. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude?
Yeah, it gave me a giggle. And two disclaimers of my own. So one thing. So we're gonna I said it earlier that we're gonna do it a little bit different. As long as it's not our number one pick, of course, we're gonna build up and go to it. But for
Mm.
pick 2 through 5, if it falls in any of ours while we're talking about it, then we're just probably gonna jump in and then just go from there. Just because usually last year and anytime we really do this, we've just realized we kind of go, yeah, what he said, and then move on.
Yeah.
So like, and then so it's just gonna help shave some time down. And another thing, Will and I were talking about this before, Gabe. I don't know if you or if we said it, but it will be fun at the beginning of next year to do a retrospect of this and to kind of grade it. We should definitely do that for our
Oh, that'd be cool.
2023 picks as
Yeah.
well. So if we didn't
Yeah.
get to your favorite movie, just hang tight very patiently for about one solid year, and you and your thirst will be quenched because we will probably have
You will
seen
be
that movie that
rewarded.
you want to see. Yes.
Yeah, just come
Just
back
wait
here
1
in
year.
like 8 months, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And maybe we'll mention your movie.
Yeah.
Oh
No, it's a
man.
We
good
need to
idea,
yeah.
because,
Mhm.
we're all busy in our own lives, and we only have so much time. There's only so much time in the day, folks, so it's,
Yeah.
as much as we wish we had time to watch every single movie. There's some movies we would just watch multiple times a day, at least if you're me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those things where, in a lot of these movies, like, there's a lot of movies that didn't get wide distribution, that kind of flew under the radar, that I have on my list, that I'm still trying to check out. So that's the other thing. It's
Yeah.
going to take a while to kind of get all those, out of the way, and really formulate a list. So yeah, I think it'd be great to revisit, 6 to 7 months down the line, just to see if there's anything else that we discovered, because I think that'd be something really cool too, especially if it's stuff that we can recommend to each other too, because that's the best part of that, is to
Always.
suggest things to each other. So
I'm excited to
Yeah.
see because Gabe said a movie I recommended him hit his top 5. So
Yeah, man.
I'm excited
Hell yeah.
because that doesn't happen necessarily often. It's anywhere from half a star to why did you make me watch this? So yeah, man, it had that potential. It was right there on the line. So to break a top 5, I'm excited to see.
Yeah, man.
So for this one, guys, did we want to do just runner-ups that we have? Go roundtable on that, or do you want me to just go runner-up number 5?
I'm gonna
and then
say
we'll go
something
roundtable from
funny
there?
real quick before we start that my wife said before
Say
we
something
started
funny.
the podcast. She went through my top 5 and she got pissed at me. She was like, if you, Will, or Chase, none of you pick Gladiator 2 in your top 5, she's like, I'm gonna unsubscribe from the channel.
She's gonna be
And I'm
right.
like,
dang.
I was like, I don't think anyone's gonna pick that, babe. And she's like, well, I'm gonna unsubscribe from the channel. I'm like, ugh.
She shows
Yeah.
you right then and there. She hits that. She takes off bell notifications.
I know, right? But yeah, I mean,
So,
we
yeah.
can just start with you can start with your number 5, Chase, and we'll just kind of go around same order
Sweet.
and see if yours hit ours, we'll just kind of all talk about it and tell each of us will say like what rank in our top 5 that one hit.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I'm gonna lead into my number 5, but I have to give props. I was saying this before we
Hey,
started
runner-ups.
rolling.
Runner-ups, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go over those ones, but I do kind of want to address 2024 as a whole because I've seen it be so moody with the way that people are saying, "Oh, it's been a bad year for horror. It's been a bad year for movies. Oh, it sucks for this. It sucks for that. Movies are doomed because of the box office." And I honestly, 2023 was a great year. I think that this year was better. And I think it's going to fall into the Hall of Very Good, if that makes sense. Like, it's not Hall of Fame worthy, but like the Hall of Very Good. There
Mhm.
were so many good things. There's a lot of bad things. I've seen a lot of really bad movies that really just, why did I go? But I do it to myself on purpose. I don't know why. I'll find out the answer soon.
Tarot.
But yeah, tarot, dude. Holy shit. I'll find out why I do that stuff to myself all the time.
I heard that movie was
eventually.
excellent. What are you talking about?
So yeah, so I really think it's just a really good year. So when I list off my runner ups, it's because there's a reason. It was really hard for my top 5. So for runner ups, Abigail. I'm probably
Dude,
surprised you
yes.
guys thought that would break my top 5, but that's a 10 out of 10 fun movie to me. I think there's way better
Mhm.
made movies.
Yeah.
But Abigail, I've seen it probably 6 or 7 times already. It's one of those comfort movies. You know what I mean by that? Like, I love it. It's a 10 out of 10, but I'm not going to put it up against these other big dogs I've got on here. Love Lies Bleeding. I think that was an excellent movie. I just think there's better competition. Lisa Frankenstein. I know there's some people that just really did not like this movie. I loved it for what it is. It's not incredible. It's just great fun. Sit down and just really just brain rot the entire time. I don't really know how to describe it. A Princess, the one with Sebastian Stan I was talking about. It's a really good movie. It's not even anywhere near top 5. I just want to really, really have people go see that movie for the strong performances in it. Jeremy Strong and Sebastian Stan. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, I turned it on and I started cleaning because there's sometimes I turn on movies for background noise that I'm not really interested in. And then I'll kind of sit down and do this. I don't do it too often, but this is one of those. 5 minutes in, I was sitting down and I didn't take my eyes off the screen. So really good. Not excellent though. A Different Man. I think that one is a great runner up. I just personally didn't like the ending. That's my only problem, but I think that this is the perfect movie for a lot of other people out there. It's so good. Again, great score. And Mads, that is a Shutter original that I believe was filmed all in one take, and it's absolutely batshit insane what they did with that. It is crazy what they did in one take on that stuff, and it's like an hour and a half long, and it's just a spiral descent into chaos. So and then my last runner up is going to be The Substance. Yes. Believe it or
That
not, it
was
did
a
not make my
What,
top
runner-up,
bro?
5. It did not
What?
make
Hold
my
on.
top
We
5.
gotta
Yeah, what?
stop the recording.
Believe
I'm
it or
shocked
not.
right now.
Stop
It
the
didn't make my
recording.
top 5.
What?
Yeah,
What,
believe it or
dude?
not, man.
Wow.
I told you, you'll be shocked.
No
So,
way.
Yeah, that's
I'm
wild.
shocked. That's freaking wild, man.
That's
yep.
wild.
You'll be shocked. You'll be
That's
shocked.
insane.
Look, Hall of Very
Yeah,
Good.
this is gonna be a weird. This is gonna be a weird podcast because maybe there's gonna be movies that that you're gonna be like that you're gonna be shocked that are in my top 5. I think. So
Do you
we'll
want me to go ahead
see.
and say my top 5? Because I know you guys always do like 1 or 2 runner-ups. I do 10.
I
So
mean,
it
yeah, I'm
takes me
just
a
gonna.
while.
I'll do a quick. I only have like 1 or 2 runner-ups, real quick. Kingdom of the Planet of
Sick.
the Apes. I think it was phenomenal. I think it
Yes.
was like a
Shout out.
fucking incredible movie, beautifully shot, beautifully made.
Yes.
It just didn't make it, but a fucking phenomenal movie. I had Abigail
Yes.
too, man. So when you shout out
Hell
Abigail,
yeah.
I was like, you remember? Because I don't know, dude. That movie was just so much fun. It was
It
so much
is.
fun to watch. It's like what you said. It's a comfort movie, and it's just something that's like,
It's cozy.
yeah, it's just cozy. It's just a fun movie to watch. And
Yeah.
this one surprisingly did not make my top 5, and I gave it a super like near perfect score when we reviewed it. Furiosa did not
Yes.
reach
Shout
my
out
top 5.
Furiosa. I keep
Yeah,
forgetting that came out this year. Again, another May release.
it's been a weird
I
year.
keep forgetting. It's been a weird year, but yes, shout out Furiosa. There are reasons why it's not in my top 5, but yes, that is a phenomenal movie.
Yeah. Will, were there any runner-ups or just quick shout-outs you wanted to do before we start the top 5?
Yeah. Yeah, it was my number 5 pick was hard because it was like between 3 movies, but let me shout out some other movies. In a Violent Nature, I want to shout that
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, not like we haven't necessarily seen it before, but just the way it was shot, the way that they like that POV style, that again, just something different, and that's really what I was like going for this year when I look back, just films that stood out to me. So In a Violent Nature, not the best movie. I mean, I think I ended up giving that like a 3.5, 3.5 stars out of 5 or something like that, but I liked it a lot. So In a Violent Nature, shout out to that. Civil War, I got to give credit to that. Really impeccable sound design on that movie. Like, I mean, the movie itself was great. I had a good time with it. Juror number 2, one that I saw recently. Again,
Yes.
Clint
Mm.
Eastwood's supposed, last film. The
Really good
fact that he
effort.
is 94 years old.
It's
He is
wild,
in
man.
his
It's
mid
crazy.
90s and still making quality movies like this. And I appreciate that movie, even though it wasn't a favorite.
Mhm.
It really wasn't. There wasn't any flaws with it. You know what I mean? Again, it's a story that we've seen before, more of a courtroom drama. It's kind of his own spin on it. But I love that. So shout out to Juror number 2 and Clint Eastwood. Speak No Evil. Liked
Didn't
it.
watch that.
Yeah, one that I kind of watched. I ended up watching that in November, so it was kind of behind the, a little late to the game on that one. But Speak No Evil, shout out to that. Furiosa, I liked. So shout out to Furiosa. I'm trying to think of what else. I'm going down a list here, guys, so bear with me. And then I'll just shout out. I want to shout out some foreign films too, everybody, because I
Yes.
don't think they get enough
Yeah.
love, even though foreign films are much more sought after nowadays. Exuma from
Yes.
yeah, it was this year, 2024.
Really good one.
Really great horror thriller, fantastic. I
Yeah.
actually watched this movie, and I was telling Chase this. We were kind of joking around because I told him, my girl doesn't watch a lot of horror movies. It's hard for her to sit through a lot of them, and she was actually like completely enthralled by this movie. So the fact that she was able to sit down not only for a horror film but one with subtitles, because she hates subtitles even more than she hates horror movies. She hates having to read subtitles. She was completely engaged the whole time. So Exuma, really good movie for those of you that like foreign horror thriller films. Another foreign movie. This is more of an action film with my guy Don Lee, The Roundup, which had, I think, its 4th installment come out this year, which is
Mm.
called The Roundup Punishment. Really well made action movies. If you guys haven't seen those, or if you guys are unfamiliar with a lot of Don Lee's filmography, I really suggest checking out the Roundup movies, especially the one that came out this year. That's the Roundup Punishment. So shout out to that. Same thing with me, Chase. Love Lies Bleeding. I really enjoyed this movie.
Super fun.
Um, Super fun movie. Really, really good time. Something I have to watch again though, because I was at the end of the day, it's like I gave it 4 stars, but I was like, there's something about it that it's not like winning me over
Yeah.
compared to other movies out there that I had seen that are in my top
Yeah.
5. But I got to give it credit because it was, completely out there at times, and I fucking love that, and I love that it,
Yeah.
it tried to do different things, especially with the
Absolutely.
genre blending. And even the protagonists, like, Kristen Stewart, and
She's
forgive me, I
great.
forget the other actress's name, whoever played the bodybuilder, she was fucking amazing. Whoever that actress is,
She was
fantastic job.
yeah.
I love that. And dude, I love the shout out to like when she's like almost like transforming in that one scene. It's kind of like that shot. It reminded me of like the old days of like Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk. So I
Yeah.
appreciate like the little bits of that thrown in there.
And
And
that's
Ed
gonna be
Harris,
Katie
man.
O'Brien.
Katie O'Brien, Katie,
Yes.
amazing job. Love that movie.
Yeah.
She like, sold the movie for
She
me,
sold it. Yeah. And
And
Kristen was
Kristen
great, but
Stewart.
yeah.
Kristen
Yeah.
Stewart. So, I've had a weird history with Kristen Stewart. Like, it's like there's some roles that I've seen her in. I'm just like, doesn't do much for me. But like this, she was fantastic in this. And Ed Harris, I'm not going to give away his character, but damn, man, what a
Yeah.
fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
agreed.
shout out to Love Lies Bleeding. Dude, so I'm not going to give you guys my number 5, but I'm going to give you the 2 movies that were competing for number 5, okay? Number
Yes.
1, I wanted to put this in my top 5, but out of the trilogy, okay, it was my least favorite out of the trilogy, and that is Maxine. Okay,
Yes.
Maxine, still a
Yeah.
great movie, visually really,
Yeah.
really great. Really took me in. I was absorbed in that world, and I love the '80s aesthetic, as you guys know. But man, the plot, man, it just didn't really do it for me.
I
It's pretty
agree.
straightforward, almost predictable, at times, and that kind of took me out of it. It didn't give me
Mhm.
that same excitement that I got with X and that I got with Pearl. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why it didn't quite make the top 5. So, this next one, my last runner up, it's tough, guys. It's really, really tough because I did not want this to be a runner up because I adore this movie. I got a special edition, sitting on my shelf 2 feet away from me. That is Late Night with the Devil,
Hmm.
with my
Great
boy
movie.
David Desmalchian. Amazing movie.
Yep.
Again, a great year for horror. If it hasn't been said enough, just some really interesting movies out there this year. So yeah, shout out to Late Night with the Devil, and those are my runners up. So.
Phenomenal.
Sweet.
Well said. Um, yeah, and so actually my 5th slot, it changed a lot from my number 5 segueing into this. So what I originally had here are actually some things that are up higher. What I originally had in my 5th slot was actually going to be The Doc of Chucky. It's a 5-hour Chucky documentary on Shudder that
Shit.
Mm.
yeah, and it's incredible being a Chucky fan. Like that was Christmas. That was my Christmas. Christmas was not December 25th. It was November 1st when that movie
It was
dropped.
November 1st for you, yeah.
Yeah, so it was amazing. And then it was Mads. And this is actually going to shock you guys. This is going to really shock you guys.
Wait, hold on. So Mads was
No,
not.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
because Mads
not.
Mads
was a
Yeah.
was.
runner up.
It was going to be Doc of Chucky or Mads for 5th. Because remember, I texted you guys and said you guys should watch Mads
Yeah.
before you do your top 5 because I really do think that's probably one of the most original and well done horror movies of the year, especially being straight to streaming.
Mhm.
But my number 5 is actually going to be Nosferatu. I
Mm.
didn't put it that high. I need to stop reviewing movies the day that I see them because I've had this thing this year where it's been like the year of changing my opinion within a few days.
Mm.
So like I
Mm.
adored the movie, don't get me wrong, but there were just some reviews as they were starting to come out like on Christmas Day and then the day after where it really just like some of the complaints made sense. And I've never really had that happen to me too much until Maxine. Because once I watched it and I saw people's complaints, I was like, okay, that's kind of fair, and I kind of can't overlook that now. But there's like just kind of one thing about Nosferatu that brings it from like that 10, 9.5 to like a 9, right around a 9. It's better than Northman, but I probably would pick Lighthouse or The Witch over it. But I still adore it. I think Eggers still has a flawless record. Just because it's number 5 doesn't mean it's the year of very good. Remember what I said, guys. It's
Mhm.
Mm.
it's the year of being a very, very strong year. And that's not to say that these movies I have ranked above it, I deem to be the better movie of the year. I also like to put in rewatchability. How much fun do I have? Nosferatu is also a movie that I probably would watch once every other Christmas. I wouldn't watch it
Mm.
every Christmas day. I would want to keep it in rotation because I don't watch that many Christmas movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So watching the same thing all the time, I already watch Black Christmas every year, so I don't need to add another one. But Nosferatu, everything else outside of like a little tiny gripe that's basically spoilers. Um, yeah, it's a phenomenal movie. I'm probably one of Eggers' biggest fans now. Like he's just insane. I'm seated for anything he does until the day that he either stops making movies or until I'm no longer around. I'm gonna be here watching Eggers movies till the day that he stops making them. I love the guy. He's flawless. Northman isn't even anything special. It's just done well. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's just a straightforward Viking story. And
Yeah.
Nosferatu kind of gives you a straightforward vampire story and just makes it fun like Eggers does. He's just great for that. So that's gonna be my number 5.
Since we're doing the
Hell
whole
yeah.
track record of where that falls on our list, that was my number 2. Was actually
Oh, wow.
Nosferatu. Yeah,
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
I had it a little bit higher, man. I just feel like I think you worded it really well, where you said it's like he delivers very simple stories, but he does it in
Mhm.
such a unique way. Like with the Northman, it's like it's a revenge story, right? But
Yeah.
it's just so unique in the way that he does it. And I think he
Yeah.
does the same thing with Nosferatu, where it's like it's a vampire story, but he does it in a way where the girl's like not a victim. I mean, she's like pulling the strings too, and it's just this
Yeah.
weird dynamic going on with Nosferatu, Lily Rose Depp, and her husband, and it's just shot so well. It's just so beautifully shot, man. I mean, I really loved the movie. The only gripe I had with it was kind of what you said is more spoiler territory, but it's coming from the original source material too. So it's something that I think Eggers probably still wanted to obviously respect and play the movie out the same way, but he wanted to obviously give his own unique spin to it. But I loved everything about that movie, man. I just thought it was just phenomenal, from the direction to the cinematography, the acting. Like I wanted to see it again as soon as it was over. But yeah, that was actually my number 2 was Nosferatu. Will, did it fall on your top
Okay.
5?
It did. Yeah, it was
What
actually
number?
it was my number 2 pick. Yep,
Oh,
my number 2 pick as well. Yeah, I mean, I can't really disagree with anything that you guys have already said, you know. It's just yeah, I said to Chase when we talked about this amongst the two of us, I can see why there will be a segment of people that have like issues with some of the creative directions that this movie took, specifically with, let's just say, character design, and that's where I'm going to leave it.
Yeah.
For
mhm.
those that haven't seen it, I still highly recommend seeing this in theaters if you can. I think it is still a masterfully made movie. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that. I think the cinematography is fantastic, as we've spoken about with the lighting and the shadow work. The acting is top notch across the board. I mean, this isn't anything unlike what Eggers has done before. You know, you guys said it best. I think he takes stories that are relatively straightforward and does a really good job visually representing the terror and the horror and the dread that the characters within those worlds are experiencing. He has a great way of conveying that visually. And that's what I love about his movies. The reason why this is my number 2 is because again, I'm going by movies that were different, but also movies that I haven't seen, or movies that used, cinematic, I guess we can say, language and style that I haven't seen in a long time, and I think with
Mhm.
Nosferatu, it's that gothic romance, that whole, it's like gothic romance, and there's a little bit of like erotic horror in there, which is not something that we've seen,
Too often
Mhm.
too often
nowadays.
with a movie with a wide release. Yeah, nowadays it's like,
Yeah.
because, and when you see it again, it's like, that there are points in this movie that gross you out. It's again, it's weird. It's like seductive, but at the same time, it's horrifying, and it makes you feel disgusting for wanting to watch it. And that's not something that I've felt in a long time, and so I gotta give this movie props for making me feel the way that I did, and just again, I can't deny the fact that it gave me that same sense of dread that I felt the first time that I watched The Witch.
Mhm.
So for me, as a fan of Eggers and his work, it kind of brought me full circle, back to that initial experience that I had with The Witch, which is, again, one of my favorite horror movies of the last 10 years. So, and this one's going to be up there with it. So yeah, I had to give it the number 2 slot, just because thinking back on it, I'm like, yeah, it's not number 1 for me, I don't think, but I think it's a movie that I'll maybe watch it. Like Chase, I'm kind of with you. I don't know if I'll watch it again every year, because I think
Mhm.
this is the type of movie that's like, okay, I want to watch it again, but I do need to separate myself from it for
Space
quite
it.
some time,
Yeah. I
just to
want
kind
it.
of,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like I wanna feel like I need to watch this again and
Yeah.
feel that satiation. So I think for me, it's gonna be like, every year or every other year, depending on, how I'm feeling. But yeah, it's definitely one that I'm gonna revisit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I can say about it. I think it's still an incredibly well made movie. It deserves a lot of the credit that it's getting. And yeah, for kind of tapping into a part of cinema and a type of storytelling that I just don't think we've gotten in abundance, in a long time. So I got to give it credit for that. So yeah, it's my number 2.
Cool.
Phenomenal, man. Well said, guys.
Sweet.
So now,
Awesome.
Gabe, now you can go into your number
Yeah,
5.
my number 5, which I'm shocked is not in your top 5. It was actually The Substance, man.
Hell yeah, dude.
I put it in my
Oh,
top
yeah.
5. I saw it again, not in theaters, through a, let's say, special friend sent a file to.
Hey, what are
But
we talking about here?
yeah.
What are
Hey,
you
I already
talking about?
supported it, man. They already got my money. But yeah, The Substance, dude. It was. I remember Chase was nagging me when it was coming out, dude. Just like every week, he's like,
So
"Did you
good.
see it yet? Did you see it yet?" And then I think I didn't tell you the day I was seeing it. I didn't tell you till I was
You told
out.
me when you
Yeah,
got out, bro.
yeah. I
And I
took a
was just
picture
like,
of the
and then
poster
you
as I
took
was
like an
coming
hour
out.
to reply to me.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was like, "What'd you
I was like,
think?
what'd you
What'd you
think? What'd you
think?"
think? You're like, hold
Left him
on,
hanging.
bro.
And I liked it a
Yeah.
lot more the second. I mean, I really enjoyed it the first time. I think I'd given it like an 8.5. It was just that bonkers freaking ending that's just
Yeah.
it's still just so, it's still bonkers the second time that you watch it. But I liked it a lot more the second time. I think that there's things that you notice with a second viewing with it. Um just in terms of like how it's shot and like things that they're trying to convey, and obviously like Demi Moore's performance, which we already talked about. But um I just love how it brings me back to almost like those old like X-Files Twilight Zone episodes where just some shit just going terribly wrong. And you don't see that much anymore. And it's kind of like what we talked about with Eggers too. It's a clear-cut theme that's been explored so many times, but the way they explore it in that movie is just so unique, and it's like anything that you've never seen before. So yeah, man, I had to give it to The Substance. It was because it was one of those movies that I didn't rate it as high initially when I first saw it, but seeing it a second time really kind of solidified a lot of the creative choices that they made, and a lot of, what they were trying to convey, that it conveyed to me, at least, that it was like I'd never seen something like this before. So
It's unique.
Substance was my number 5. I'm shocked it's
Yeah.
on your top 5, dude. I'm
Dude,
shocked.
you really need to watch A Different Man, dude.
I will. I'll
Yeah,
watch it.
dude, it's $5 on Apple. And I know
I'll
you
watch.
got
Well, yeah,
Apple
this
the
week
paddle.
I'm catching up on like 3 or 4 movies I haven't seen. So I don't know if
Yes.
did the Substance hit your top 5, Will?
I don't know.
Yeah, he's
Are,
not
are
sure.
you still making the list too?
Yeah, he's still
Yeah, I'm
making it.
making it as we
Oh
go. I
my
told you I'm winging
god,
this,
dude.
bro.
You
It's
guys are
all about
winging
how
this
I got to go
100%.
with my gut, man, with how
Oh
I feel,
god. All
What's
right,
your
cool.
number 5,
Well,
Will?
yeah, what's your number 5, man?
My
Put you on
number
the spot.
5 is Long Legs.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Really?
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
Holy
yeah,
shit,
Long
dude.
Legs.
I
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it a
because
lot, but yeah.
it was
Yeah,
Okay.
I
I
love
liked
Long
it a
Legs.
lot. Well, I told you guys it was like between Long Legs and Late Night with the Devil. Like I was gonna put Late
Mhm.
Night with the Devil in there because again, I just love Late Night with the Devil so much. But Long Legs to me, man, kind of just took me back to, growing up and, and again, that time period, like the early 2000s when I was like really getting into movies and, watching not only the horror movies of the late 90s and the early 2000s, like Scream and Saw and all those movies, but those like 90s, almost like that weird, like those horror thriller movies of the 90s that I mentioned before,
Mhm.
like movies like shout out to Denzel Washington in a movie called Fallen, which I believe came out in 1998, that I highly recommend someone, you guys should check that out. Shameless plug for a movie called Fallen, but Long Legs took me back to like those kind of movies. Seven, which we're getting a physical release soon. They just announced the
Mhm.
new, Steelbook, whatever I don't know what happened with that Steelbook, but they canceled it for a while or they took it down and now it's back up for pre-order. But just the movies of that time period like that, like the Seven, like those horror thriller films that I really love. And this movie just kind of has that same vibe. It just kind of took me back. So I guess we could say there's a little bit of nostalgia with it. And there's just something about it, I guess, that's like comforting to me. But at the same time, dude, it legitimately did creep me out in the theater. Like it was really
Mhm.
unsettling. And I can't ignore that, And Late Night with the Devil was great, and I loved it, but it was more of like in a fun way, like
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
just
yeah.
an entertaining watch. This
Yeah.
movie was entertaining, but it also did kind of make me feel somewhat uncomfortable. So, and I can't ignore that, you know what I mean? And I remember sitting in the theater like, damn, this actually got to me a little bit.
Mhm.
And just on top of that, Micah Monroe just again
Oh, she
completely
killed it.
absorbed in her character. She nailed it. This is probably my favorite performance from her. And I know
Yeah,
she
she's
hasn't
great.
done too much. She's got like a quite a decent small filmography now, like a nice bundle of movies that she's got under her belt. But this is her best role to me, you know. I think since she kills it, and Nicolas Cage, just a off the wall, like
Yeah.
bonkers, you know,
Mhm.
batshit crazy performance. So I just can't ignore it, and there's just something about it that I love, and I'm gonna definitely revisit it over and over again. So yeah, Long Legs is my number 5.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
man. And
Honestly, if it
that's
wasn't no,
Oh,
go
go ahead,
for it, Gabe.
Chase.
I
Go
was
ahead, man.
just gonna say if it wasn't for Skarsgård and Sebastian Stan, I think he would have got my Best Actor award.
Cage,
Mm,
yeah,
Just for that.
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
like, you gotta give the horror things a nod, you know, not just the drama things like the typical awards do and stuff. But
yeah,
that was when I was in the theater, I actually kinda went like, "Whoa, holy shit." You know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it was crazy, you know, that interrogation scene, but yeah, great pick, man.
That movie's
Can
just
I say
fantastic,
something
dude.
about? Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, Gabe, because
Oh
Chase,
no,
I want to
all I was
respond
gonna
to something you
say,
just.
is just that I liked it more the second and third time that I saw it. Like the first time I saw it was just like an 8 out of 10, but the more I saw it, and the more you see a lot of like the narrative kind of clues stringing everything together,
Mhm.
Yeah,
it's just really, really fantastic. And I'm glad it made someone's top five, because I honestly I really enjoyed that movie. The more you watch it, I think the
mm,
better effect it has on you.
It's got good
yeah.
rewatchability, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what happened to me. But like Chase, you brought up an important point. It's interesting to shout out the horror and not just the drama, right? That
Yeah.
that a
Hmm.
lot of these awards ceremonies tend to do now. But I'm sorry, but to me, sometimes there's more drama in horror films than there are in some
Yeah.
of these drama
Yeah.
films. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it, dude. Like Long Legs to me is there's plenty of drama in that. It is a drama. It's a horror drama to me. It's a satanic
Hmm.
film. You know, it's a satanic horror movie, but as far as Micah Monroe's character, you know, the trauma that she's dealing with from her childhood that she's been harboring with her whole life. I mean, and we're going to get into it with some of our other top picks too. I mean, there's other horror films in my top 5. Nosferatu. I mean, that's more melodrama, I guess we could say, you know, which is more in line with the gothic horror type of or that, you know,
Hmm.
gothic romance, you know, storytelling, but there's another pick on my list that again, I can look at some of these movies and consider them dramas as opposed to just straightforward horror, you know, and Long Legs, yes, it is a horror film. There's plenty of shit in it that's scary and creepy and got under my skin, but there's a lot of drama in it as well. And dude, even with some of these other movies that didn't make the list, you know, Love Lies Bleeding. I mean, I love
Yeah.
that movie. I love the dramatic bits that are in that. And, you know, that's considered I don't know what you would call that. It's more like I
Say
guess we could
thriller.
say it's like a thriller, right?
Yeah. It's a thriller for sure.
Um,
It's like a Quentin Tarantino level thriller. It's kinda how I felt
it
about it.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to comment on that because I don't like the fact that like a lot of these horror films kind of get cast aside and ignored when they really do have
Hmm.
there's a lot going on, you know, and we talked about it like when you guys, you know, talked about the substance. But
Yeah.
we'll get to that. But yeah, Long
Cool,
Legs number
man.
5.
Hell yeah.
Yo, Will, on that note, Gabe, you haven't seen Juror number 2 yet, have
I
you?
have not yet. Nope.
Okay, so it's not a spoiler, but for anybody that cares, skip forward 30 seconds. It just makes me laugh because of that one scene in Juror number 2, Will, like whenever it comes to
Oh yeah.
dramas, and it's like a whole entire drama. I'll leave it loose enough for Gabe, but the scene where the character is sitting at the DA's table and
Yes.
she Googles wife's name's husband and goes to Google Images and has like 100 pictures of this guy pop up,
Yeah.
and she goes,
Yeah. Yeah.
"Oh, it was, dude." I enjoyed the movie. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was good for what it was, but
Yeah.
man, that's probably the hardest I've laughed all year in something
Dude,
that
it
wasn't supposed
was
to be funny.
that one fucking scene is why I'm gonna be honest. I gave the
Yeah,
movie 3.5 stars, and that is
yeah.
why.
That
Damn.
scene
Because it's
was
at that moment where I
corny.
was like, okay, we're fucking a little over the line here with
Clint
this. Now
Eastwood's
it's like,
94, and this is what
yeah,
he thinks the internet
Oh
does.
man.
You have
like,
access to
bro,
anybody.
it's actually
Yeah.
pretty fun. Like I could see that being a meme, you know?
Yeah, it was so funny, Gabe. Like when you get to that, there ain't no way you don't text us. You'll know exactly what we're
What's like
talking
that
You'll
about.
know exactly
megalopolis
what he's
scene
talking
that
about.
whatever was who brought that up in the last
Go back
podcast?
to the club.
Go
Yeah,
back
going
to
to
That
the
the
one?
club.
club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love that shit.
Something like that can tank a movie,
yeah.
man. That's for sure.
No, that is a wonderful thing. Let me pull up. I
Yeah,
know my
number
number 4 for sure.
four, man. What's
This one's
number
been
four?
hard. This one could go higher, and this one could even get kicked off the list in exchange for something. I just think that this movie is truly special, but I also don't think there's been a movie that's been as divisive that isn't Longlegs this year. And that's going to be Jane Schoenbrun's I Saw the TV Glow. Yep, you heard it here
Yeah.
Haven't
first,
seen it yet.
folks. That
I was
movie
gonna
is
mention it
phenomenal.
earlier. It has its haters, dude, and I've seen,
Yep.
shout out to Discord, our lovely community on Discord. But yeah, I've seen some I've seen some haters, man.
Like 1 star
Jumping on that
reviews.
movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get it. Thematically, it's not for everybody. If you've seen the movie or you know what the movie's about, I don't really need to get in more detail than that.
Yeah.
It's just probably going to be weird to some people, but then weird is my middle name. So the weirder I hear something is, the more I'm going to love it. And I'm also
Yeah.
Justice Smith's biggest fan. Like, I don't know anybody that like literally loves to watch this guy's movies as much as I do. I just think that he has so much potential as an actor, and I really hope he has a flourishing career. And he's already had some good hits, but like he just plays like this awkward, stuttery young adult teenager role so well, and it's so believable. You just want to fucking root for the guy in anything that he's in, man. Like he's just so good. Um, he had another movie earlier this year. It was called Magical Society. He was really good in that.
Mm-hmm.
The movie itself was but I saw the TV Glow. Any movie that Jane does, I'm gonna sit down for. I watched their entire filmography after seeing this movie. It's just something truly special, and I'm really pissed because this movie should have 4K HDR, and A24 did a Blu-ray only release. This would be hands down the prettiest disc on the platform if they just released that. And you got Fred Durst in here, so points for that.
Yeah.
I'm tired of
But
A24 doing that though with some of their Blu-ray releases where it's just no 4K and it's like, come on, guys.
or the German
Like,
media books. You have to
yeah,
import
that
them and
too.
get
Yeah,
this.
but I think Will
Yeah.
and I had a conversation about that in one of our last podcasts. But it's they need to get with the
Yeah.
game and just start releasing 4Ks right away.
I mean, dude, I don't know why they don't partner. They would have so much success if they just partnered with a boutique label. Like just come out with an
Mhm.
exclusive partnership. That would raise a lot of eyebrows. Like a lot of people would get into that. I mean, I would
Yeah.
love that, dude.
Well,
I'm
Lionsgate is in charge of their home distribution, if I'm right. So as far as
oh,
I'm aware,
yeah.
if I understand it right, because I mean your copy of Civil War on your shelf right now will say Lionsgate underneath it. If
It
Yeah.
does,
Lionsgate
from what I remember,
doesn't,
yeah.
yeah, if Lionsgate says no, we don't want to publish it, then that's when you get those A24 editions. That's how I understand it.
Mm,
Or
Gotcha.
what'll happen is they sell licenses overseas from movies. As far as I'm aware, that's what I understood happened with X and Pearl. They didn't expect it to be that big of a hit. So I believe
Right.
it was Cape Light got the rights for like home video distribution, and we only got the Blu-ray and DVD, and they had the 4K license, and that's why we don't have anything. But we got
Gotcha.
Maxine because there wasn't a third one announced when they made that deal. That's what
Right.
I've heard.
mm.
They're such a small company in the grand scheme of these competitors that they basically made a lot of like, hey, we want to get our name as far and wide type of deals in their early days, if that makes sense. Because they're
Yeah.
only like 10, 12-year-old company. They're not old at all.
Yeah.
Well, they've been
Not
around
at
like
all.
20,
No.
but their production history is not that old. So
Right. Right.
yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
is, as
Because
far as I know.
yeah, who put out? Because didn't Arrow had that edition of the Lighthouse, which a lot of people, there were like
Yes.
Mhm.
rave reviews of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
um,
that is true.
yeah. No, man, I mean, it'd be great if we could get some of those moving forward, even if Lionsgate, like you said, doesn't want to do it, just license it out to like
Yeah.
a
Just have
boutique
someone
label
do
or a
it.
distributor that's going to do it.
Yeah, no,
So,
for sure.
But
No,
cool.
makes sense.
So that was your number 4,
Hey,
right?
number
We're
4,
at
I
number
Saw the
4.
TV Glow by
So
James
this is the
Strongbow.
one that you recommended to me, man.
Let's
And this is the
go.
one
What
I
is it?
just saw today, and I want to watch it again already. And it's probably going to take a few more rewatches for me to process it better. But number 4 is Strange Darling.
Let's
hell yeah.
go. Fuck
I just
yeah.
saw, dude, that movie is so
Let's
fucking
go.
phenomenal. It is
Yes.
just, honestly, I'd even
Let's
maybe put it
fucking
as a contender
go.
for best cinematography as well. Just
Yes.
because I mean, I did say, let me say this though. I did say, I thought it was kind of corny at the beginning where it said like shot on 35 millimeter. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
think you need to like advertise that, but I mean, it's just so beautifully shot. And
Yeah.
the
Hell
story
yeah.
itself is just, um, oh, dude, it just reminds me of like old school, like Pulp Fiction slash like just like old
Yes.
90s kind of
And the
like
presentation.
episodic. Yeah, just like,
Yes.
just not telling it in a linear way.
Plays with
it's
your
it's freaking
feelings too.
fantastic. Oh yeah, dude. But it's not
Yeah.
even that. I mean, there's a lot of movies that are told not just to be told in that fashion. But I think that this
Yeah.
movie, there was just something with the narrative where it's like if it had been told in a linear fashion, it wouldn't have the same impact whatsoever.
Exactly.
And I
It's the way
think
it
that it
toys with
was,
you.
yeah, it's just a completely, like, there is a creative decision as to why it was presented that way. And just from the way it was shot, to the acting, to just the way the story pulls you in a million different directions, you're like, what the hell is going on here? And it's
Mm.
just, dude, I had so much fun with it. So much fun. I was actually watching it earlier when you were telling me to watch Different Man. I was watching Strange Darling,
Strange
because I was
Darling,
like,
and
I
you're
need to
like,
watch
"Nope, not
this one
now."
before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I need
Yeah.
to watch this one before, because I've been wanting to watch it for a long, long time.
I'm glad you
But
liked
yeah,
it, man.
dude, I loved it. I wish I had seen it theatrically. I wish that maybe they'll do like some 35 millimeter screening sometime, and I'd love to go see
Yes.
it, because it was just um
Pretty movie, man.
pretty movie. And it's some of the color grading, dude. I'm excited to see the
Dude.
4K for that movie
Yes. When they're
whenever it
outside the
comes out.
hotel with
Oh
all the
god,
blue
yeah, with the
lights.
blue, and then even inside the
Uh,
hotel with some of the red lighting.
yeah.
It's just phenomenal, dude. I was telling my wife, because I was watching it with her. It's funny because she had a doctor's appointment. She had to stop, like, she left like 30 minutes before the ending. She was getting
Mhm.
into it too, and then I just watched it without her, because I was like, I need to know how this ends. But
Yeah.
Oh man.
I was just we were just like, this is like, we haven't seen a movie this year that's like this unique. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just like and it went under the radar like so heavily.
It
Like, I feel
did.
like a lot of people didn't
Yes.
talk
Just
about
came
this
out.
movie, and it was probably one of the most unique films that I've seen all year. Um
Yeah.
so that was my number 4, dude, was Strange Darling. I had an absolute blast with it. I'd probably give it like a 9.5 out of 10. I think it's fucking phenomenal. It's probably
Yeah,
a
that's
10
Man,
out
what
of
I
10.
gave
If I
it.
watch it again, I'll probably give it a 10 out of 10. It's just one of those movies I need to rewatch again. But yeah, dude, Strange Darling was my number 4.
That's phenomenal. And I'm glad, honestly, the energy you have about that movie is what I figured Will would have had about the movie. That's why I kept harassing you guys for a couple of weeks to go see it. But
yeah.
it's wonderful you picked that because that is actually my
Oh, no
number
shit.
2.
No
That's
way.
my number
Holy
2.
crap.
Yep.
Wow. I did
Now the
not know that
mystery
it
gets
was more than substance.
crazier about what my number 1 is.
Yes, it
So,
is.
I think you guys will like it.
It's
But
fucking
Mr. Will,
Sonic, dude.
it's fucking Sonic.
No, I'm
Oh,
kidding.
fucking hell. It probably will
He
be.
But
forgot all
Chase,
about
no,
Sonic coming out. He's like,
I
makes
this is
sense now.
Yeah.
Strange Darling is one of the few that I haven't seen, and
Yes.
I ended up
Oh, man,
buying
I
a
thought you saw it.
DVD from Walmart because I ordered the Blu-ray, but it wasn't going to be in time.
Yeah.
So I saw the DVD at Walmart. I said, I'm going to buy this, and it's been sitting around for like 4 or 5 days, and I haven't seen it. So I'll preface the rest of the recording or the show by saying that I have a feeling that once I see it, it would probably
Yes.
have
It
knocked
will.
out either Long Legs or you know what I mean.
It
It would
will.
probably make it
Mhm.
into my top 5. So I'm
I
just
think
gonna
so too.
shout that out now, based on what
Let
Yeah.
you
you know
guys
in
have both said
advance.
about it.
Yeah. Letting you know
Oh,
it's going to get
dude.
revised in the future because I'm
Yeah.
hyped.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Will, what's your number 4, man?
Number 4. This is really tough. I'm gonna go with Dune Part 2. Number 4.
Nice.
Dune
Sweet,
Part
dude.
2. Obviously, it was higher up on my list as the year, when did this when was this out?
It's
April
like
or May? I don't even
February. I think
remember
it
when
was
it came out. It was
February,
earlier
dude.
than that, right? It was like March or February. It was
Yeah, it was
February or
March.
March. It was sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah, March. So, I
Oh,
still
yeah,
love this
March.
movie. Um, but I gotta be honest, like, it's hard for me. I watched it again, and although it looked really good on the OLED, like, dude, it just did not do it didn't it just wasn't as good as it was in the theater. Like, it just did not come close, and I have a decent sound setup, but I still loved it. Again, I'm not taking anything away from the movie, but I just didn't feel the same things, that I felt in the theater. And that theater experience was wild, man. It just blew my mind.
That
Um,
Dolby is insane,
the
man.
Dolby really,
I
dude,
like the
and that's the
IMAX better.
thing. It's like,
No.
well, it's
I saw
the
it both
thing is,
ways. They're both fantastic.
yeah, you did. You did. You
Mhm.
lucky. You saw it in IMAX too. Yeah, man. Again, still a fantastic movie. The Dolby, man, it's like a double-edged sword because it's like once you see it in Dolby, it's like, dude, it's so hard to like not experience it in that, and that's the one thing I will say about seeing it in a theater. Like there's certain movies that are just made for movie theaters, and this movie is
Mhm.
one of them. It really was like a cinematic event. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, upon second watch, I mean, still an incredibly exciting, well-made film, science fiction masterpiece, I would say. Again, liked
Agreed.
it so much better than the first one. And again, guys, I have not read the novel like these gentlemen have. So I'm approaching this with more of I guess you could say, a casual eye or point of view.
Yeah.
But I think it's still an incredible movie, and it deserved to be in the top 5 because it was still one of the best experiences I had this year. So yeah, Dune Part 2 is my number 4.
And that's my number 3 is Dune Part 2, man. I don't think there's more I can say about it, but I think that's the tough part about a movie like that is just when you have a movie that's like that epic and that grand, it's hard to kind of, come back from a theatrical experience and then watch it again and have that same impact.
Feeling.
Because I do think like Dune is just an epic, you know what I mean? It's just something that you're supposed to see on a big screen and with a huge sound system. And but nonetheless, I had it as my number 3 just because even from the as someone who's read the novel, and Chace is more versed in the novels than I am, but that novel is just so fucking complicated to even like put it on the screen.
Deep.
Yeah, it's hard to even like adapt that material, and the way Denis was able to do that, I think he did it like masterfully, with the cinematography, the acting, like everything is just like perfect with that movie. And I wouldn't change a thing with that movie. I think I gave it a perfect 10 out of 10 when it came out.
Yeah, I did too.
It's just one of those epics, man, that you just only get every few years, every so often. And it's I've watched it a few times since it's come out, and I still have the same effect. You know what I mean? That ending, the last like 3 minutes when that music is coming in, it's just so intense and it's just so beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an incredible piece of work and probably one of the best adaptations we've seen in the last decade. So Dune Part 2 is my number 3.
Lead them to paradise, man.
Yeah. It didn't reach your top 5, Chase?
Well, see, okay, so that's the thing, right? So whenever Will brought it up just now, I forgot that came out this year, bro.
Oh shit!
Remember how
Now he's like scribbling his list. He's like, "Fuck."
Because as soon as it got back to me, I was listening. My entire list is wrong. I gotta redo it. This is why. Remember how I kept saying there's a movie I was thinking I kept forgetting about?
Yeah.
I've seen the disc twice because I literally had this pre-planned like last week thinking about this award episode. Because do you remember on the podcast? I can't believe I remember this. Whenever it came out, I told you I don't think this is a movie that I could rewatch more than maybe once or twice every now and then. And then you were like, yeah, I can rewatch this all the time. Well, I've seen the disc 3 times. So like,
so you haven't even do it.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up to you. I'll leave it up to my runner ups. I still feel great about my list. I can't replace my number 3 pick I'm about to shout out right now because I think it really, really deserves it. I really want to make sure that this movie I'm about to shout out gets its limelight. But yeah, Dune 2, it's a masterpiece. It's probably the greatest. I think if they do this third one right, that we could have a new waves generation Lord of the Rings style event where we have it's already a cultural phenomenon, but I think we can have a cultural wave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you have a Return of the King type movie that comes out.
It's gonna be hard to do with the book, man. I'm not a big fan of the book like Chase is. Like it's kind of weird, but I feel like Denis.
I love it.
I think Denis can. I think he can pull the best out of that material. You know what I mean? Or just like at least like what's gonna punch and hit hard. So I'm still excited for it. If he's in it and he's gonna do it, then I'm gonna be there day one.
No, I agree. So shamefully that Dune's gonna fall into my runner ups, even though I've even got. I promise you, the Dune popcorn bucket is somewhere in my immediate.
Bro, I thought it was at the ready. Where is it?
Yeah,
I promise you, it's within.
He's had too much fun with it already. He's had too much fun with it. He's already moved on to other popcorn buckets.
There's the lid. Okay.
There it is.
I literally got it.
What's that crusty stuff on the top there, bro?
Oh, bro.
Yeah, that one.
Come on, man. You got to keep it PG, man. Come on.
But
get kicked off of YouTube because
it's just butter. That's all it is. It's just butter from the popcorn.
Well, wait till you hear my number one.
Butter.
I've got another popcorn bucket to flash my number 1 movie for the year.
Oh
but
no, it's not Deadpool and Wolverine, is it?
Oh, shout out to that movie too, man. That's honestly,
those...
I love that movie. I know you guys. I haven't watched it. I remember. Oh God, it's so much fun. I love it. But shout out to that movie too.
Yeah, I got to get Disney Plus again and watch it. But
Use my voodoo.
I know a movie neither of you guys watched. I didn't tell you guys to watch it because I watched this on Thanksgiving, surprisingly. I believe the Steelbook came out around that time. I popped it in and watched it on Thanksgiving Day, and holy hell, am I happy to say that this director, after stopping smoking weed, finally found his return to form. For anybody that doesn't know, Kevin Smith, there has been a long running joke for a lot of his fans out there that his movies went downhill when he started smoking weed. I don't give a shit either way. I think he's still got some bangers out there. But 430 movie is his first sober, quote unquote, for our audio listeners, sober movie that he's made. So it was a huge return to form. And I turned this movie on thinking it was going to be a 2.5 to a, you know what? Hey, Kevin Smith, you did some good shit here, you know? Holy hell, this would be one of your guys' comfort movies. This movie is all about being in the 80s, trying to chase that girl, but we're going on this date to go see the 430 movie. We're going to go see the movie at 430. Nothing can get
Oh,
in
hell
our
yeah.
way of these plans, and everything goes wrong, getting in a fight with the theater owner and stuff like that, all because you're 16 and love and horny and everything. It's a vibe, dude. It's like a puberty driven Goonies, and it's just great.
Okay.
And it's all about trying to take this girl on a date at 4:30. And it's in the lovable part about it is you can tell it's based on Kevin Smith because he's got this little chunky actor. Um, he's not necessarily like Johnny Bravo up in there or anything, but he's trying to get that high school cheerleader and everything like that. He's trying to charm her with his personalities, and man, it's one of the cutest fucking movies I've ever seen in my life, man. That movie was just so adorable. It's
Damn.
just
So
the entire time I was watching it, I was like, you know what, my life wasn't exactly like this in the 80s, but in the 90s I can totally relate to that. So
Yeah.
um yeah, man, that movie just brings a fucking smile onto my face. What a return to form for Kevin Smith, man. Deftones, I know you listened to this and you totally disagree because I think you gave this movie like 2 stars. But there's also a huge homage that Deftones also really hated. But there's a huge homage at the very end of that movie to everything that came before from Kevin Smith. And I just think it's like, I don't know, man. There's just times whenever you have these favorite directors and they do these projects and they just feel so personal. They feel like they're made for you. They feel like thanks for sticking by me for 30 years. Thanks for sticking by me for 20 years. I feel like every director's got one of those movies that makes you feel that way. And that
Yeah.
was 430 movie. And I gave it like a 9.259 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie. It has some like parts that really just drag out, but otherwise dialogue and script amazing. 430 movie. That's literally what's called the 430 movie
yeah,
by
the
Kevin Smith. Go
430
check
movie.
it out.
I haven't seen
Check
that
it
one
out.
yet, man.
You
But it
guys
sounds like
love
a
it.
fun movie.
Will love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen a good like coming of age movie in a long time,
Mhm.
that hasn't been like a rewatch of an older film. So
Yeah.
that sounds like something that's kind of right up my alley. So
It is.
that's getting on
Both
the
of
list
yours.
for
Yeah,
sure.
because you both like Clerks. If you love Clerks, you'll love
Yeah, I
this.
love Clerks. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
it's up our
Clerks.
alley.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
that's
Good
gonna be my
stuff,
number
dude.
3.
It's your number
So
3.
which
I
of
already
you?
said number 3 was Dune Part 2, so that was my number 3. I don't know if did we list your number 3 yet?
No, because number 2 is
No, we did
Nosferatu.
not.
Yeah,
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2. Yeah, I think I had. Yeah, Nosferatu was at 2.
Mhm.
yeah,
So my number 3, this actually beat out Dune. And again, this movie I just thought was like so raw and real and gritty. And honestly, like when I saw it, I was like, I don't know about this. Like, what is this? And then Chase was like, "Oh, you would love it," and he was right. It's a Nora.
fuck yeah,
Mhm.
man, it's a great movie.
It's a fantastic movie, and like I know this is not going to be everybody's cup of tea because like there were some people out there that like so the movie that I guess I can compare this to without really going into it and like thinking deep about it is Uncut Gems.
Yeah,
It's kind of
got the
shot in this.
anxiety.
Love it.
Yeah, there's like an anxiety to it that I had with Uncut Gems. It's that same kind of vibe. Like, you're trying to figure out what's going on with these characters. You're kind literally thrown into this world. The movie opens in, one of the main sets, so to
Yeah,
speak,
yeah,
of this world that our characters inhabit. Nora's character in particular. But damn, man, like the right away, it's like you're kind of ingrained in the visuals. The visuals kind of drag you in. And here's the things that I love about this movie without spoiling it. This is I guess you could call it a romantic comedy. There's comedy aspects to it, but at the same time, it's kind of an encapsulation of what happens when, you have Nora's character who is she's a stripper or an
Mhm.
escort. She essentially ends up being somewhat of an escort in this movie
Yep.
to the son of this Russian oligarch, okay, who's loaded and he's just enjoying his time in America. He's partying, going to the clubs, going to the strip club, and that's where he meets Honora. And it's one of those things where, they fall in love. At least they think they're in love. And this movie is pretty much split into three parts. And that's what I love about
Yes.
this movie is that the general vibe of the movie is similar to that of Uncut Gems, where there's definitely like an anxiety that's present throughout. Like you know that something isn't right or that feel like something bad's going to happen, but it actually takes a slightly different path than Uncut Gems. It doesn't necessarily end tragically. Nobody dies in this movie necessarily, which is refreshing. But
Mhm.
I kind of like what they did with this, man. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
want to
agreed.
give too much away, but I really love how the structure changes. The first part of the film is really selling you on this whole idea of what and Chase, you might be able to help me out. The Russian kid's name, I don't remember his name. Is it
Vanka.
Venka?
Venka, I believe. He
Venka.
goes by Ivan, but they call him something else in the constant Russian accents.
Yeah, it's like Venka or something like that. The
Yeah.
the first part of this film is that highly stylized, like that surreal, like party, like they kind of sell you this idea of the enticing aspect of that kind of lifestyle. Like, oh, falling in love with a stripper or a girl who's like working at a strip club and the drugs and the sex and the partying. There's that whole aspect of it. And then secondly, it turns into more of a personal thing where you actually start to see this fall apart, before your eyes. And I love how they go through that. So it starts off with that, the beginning phase, the honeymoon phase where everything's all well and good and everybody's having a great time. And then you see that relationship start to break down to the end of the film, which is again, it's just completely a relationship that was short lived and rushed into and just falls apart. And I love how they tell this in such an intricate way. These characters are so unique. I love the dynamic between um her character and I don't know what you'd call them, Chase. I guess they're like the bodyguards or like these
Oh, you're talking
guys
about
that
between the
work.
bald guy? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
With the
bald
shaggy
guy,
hair?
Igor, I
Yeah.
think his name
Yep.
is, and then you got
Igor.
the guy
Yep.
in the camel coat, the trench
Yep.
coat. In
Yep.
fact, the judge, when they're going to make an annulment or perform the annulment for the marriage, he keeps calling him camel coat. You know
Yeah. Yeah.
that whole and it's weird, man. It sets this movie up, and then he ends up the boy, the Russian kid that falls in love with her, that marries her. He runs off. They're trying to find him, dude. This whole sequence is like it's like 20 minutes of the movie where they're just looking for him and they don't know where he is.
It's longer, bro. It's like
It's
25.
longer
Yeah,
than that.
it's
No, it's
like
probably
yeah,
like
it's a while.
25 or almost 30
Yeah.
minutes, dude. It felt like
Yeah.
way longer.
Yeah.
But I love it because you spend time with her character and you kind of learn, like, even though these guys, she just had a huge confrontation with these guys. There's an incredible amount of tension between these characters. They just kind of let you follow these characters around and marinate with them. And you see their interactions and you see how they become, even though they hate each other, meaning her and these guys that are there to kind of separate her from him, that are working on behalf of his parents to end this. And they don't want her involved. It's weird to see their relationship kind of evolve where it's like they hate each other, but they're kind of thrown into the situation. And so there's a weird comfort there that develops amongst the four of them. And I just love that, dude. I love kind of seeing that arc play out in real time. And that's really cool. That was something I haven't seen in a while. But yeah, it reminded me of Uncut Gems, gave me that same sense of anxiety and kind of intrigue. Like, okay, where's this going? Like, what's going to happen here? And I love that. It kind of kept me guessing. So yeah, man, Honora is my number three. I had to put it on there because it's a really, really good movie. So Gabe, you got to check it out, man. I think you'd really like it. If you liked Uncut
That's the
Gems,
be
you'd,
number
plan
you'd
this
one.
like
week,
this.
man. I love Uncut Gems, so I'm
Yeah.
excited to see Nora, and that's probably one I'm probably gonna try to catch Thursday or Friday.
I really
Yeah.
do think that will be your favorite movie of the year.
Mm.
That or A Different Man, I think, would genuinely be, because Will and I actually share something in common. We both just finished that right before we hopped on here to record. We both
Yeah.
watched Honora right before. I loved it. My biggest thing whenever it comes to like the way I rank things, every single one of these movies I've listed, I have either watched once, plan on watching again, or have already watched multiple times. And that's one of my
Mhm.
biggest grading things. I don't think I can sit through a Nora. I can probably revisit it in a couple years perfectly fine, but I'm not turning it
Mhm.
on again tomorrow. So that's the
Right.
only reason I left it off my list completely. But I totally, anybody that puts it as their best of the year, anybody that puts it on their top 5, anybody that absolutely adores it, thinks it's the greatest thing this year, I don't disagree at all. You know, I don't think it was perfect, but I can totally see why that strikes every chord for somebody. It's one of the most
Yeah.
well-made movies of the year. Again, the year is the year of, it's going to go in the hall of very good. There's so much very good and excellent options out there, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
I really want to watch the rest of his filmography now after that.
And shout out to Mikey Madison. She's fucking amazing in
Yes.
this. Like, I was like,
Yes.
holy shit. Like, this is the chick from, like, I think the last movie I saw her in was Scream.
Yes, Scream 5.
I
Yeah.
was like, damn, like this girl's got she was amazing. And
Yeah.
damn, she fine as hell, bro. No. No, but she's so convincing. That's the thing. It's like you believe that like she's who she is. I mean, like like everything from her dialect, like the way she speaks, like the like it's dude, it was again, great performance. Like very, very convincing. That's the thing, man, with these the leading performances, it's another one of those things like it makes me think of, I mean, not so much on the level of Skarsgård. Obviously, he's dealing with something so
Mhm.
much more in depth, but she's playing this stripper who's kind of thrown into this lifestyle and meets this guy with a lot of money or ties to a lot of money, and she just plays the character so well. It's like these performances are believable,
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to her. She did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Hell yeah. And now we're finally on number ones. Because if I remember right, Strange Darling was my number 2, and Nosferatu was
Yeah, was
both
my
of your
number
guys'
2.
number 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so
Both
we
of
are
you
number
guys.
1. Holy crap.
Yep. And
Sweet.
somehow we did more this year, but did it in less time than last year. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, we're just
That's
better
wild.
at not
Yeah, I
rambling.
think we were just kind of beating a dead horse last time going over the same movies over.
Yeah. No, it's totally fair. So yeah, as people would suspect, you would definitely think that my number 1 would be a different movie, but my number 1 movie, man, is gonna be my boy
Oh
Sonic
my
the
god.
Hedgehog. No, I'm just fucking with you, man. What
I
you
was like,
mean?
bro,
Come
there's
on.
no way.
Come on.
Oh,
What
the
you mean?
There's
substance.
no
We're
way.
gonna do that,
Okay.
man. Hold on, my headset disconnected because I stood up.
Oh my god. I was like, no way he really did that.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
I got you.
Hold
I
on,
was
I gotta
about
fix
to
my
say,
audio.
Was
please
that
don't
the
tell me it's
fucking
Sonic.
Sonic popcorn? Was that the popcorn bucket?
That's why he stopped using the Dune popcorn bucket. He
Can you
switched to
guys hear
Sonic.
me?
He's got Yeah,
I
we
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you just
Yes.
fine.
Okay,
Can
so I
you
can
hear
talk
us?
about substance. I just can't hear you guys because I stood up and my thing disconnected. So
Oh my
yes, it's gonna be the substance. I had to mislead you guys. I knew if I left Sonic off my runner-ups list, I knew you guys would fall for the trick because I knew you guys would be like, there's only one thing that would beat the substance, and that'd be Sonic. And so
Oh my
yeah.
god. Let this man reconnect his headphones.
Yeah, reconnect.
Reconnect. Give him a second.
Now we're back.
127. Okay,
I can hear you.
cool.
We were
Sweet.
just talking
Yeah.
shit because we're like, oh, that's why the Dune popcorn bucket went missing because now you got
Yeah,
the
he's
Sonic
using
one
Sonic
over there
now.
to replace it.
I've got Sonic now. I bought the
Oh,
Nosferatu
man.
one, which is super nice as well.
I didn't
But
see. Did that one have one? I didn't even know
Oh, the
that.
yeah,
coffin?
it's his coffin.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, the coffin. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
The
My
coffin,
bad.
yeah. That's kind of cool.
but
Is it metal? Somebody
yeah,
said it was like metal.
yes, it's 10, and it's
Oh
got
shit.
like
Okay.
it's
Mm.
debossed. But
Okay.
yeah, guys, substance. There's most of the people that watch this talk to me on a daily basis out there, and in the server and stuff like that, and yeah, this is a once in a lifetime movie to me. I mean, it's an homage to so many different horror directors I adore and I probably idolize as, just in the world of cinema. And it's
Mhm.
just such a love letter. I honestly almost like, it's super weird. I almost liked A Different Man so much more until the last 15 minutes. I almost wasn't able to pick between Substance or A Different Man.
Hmm.
if it wasn't for the last 10 minutes of A Different Man. It was extremely hard. Shout out Gabe, you got me this for Christmas,
Yeah,
good
that was a
sir. I
Hell
won't
Christmas
yeah,
say
present.
dude.
because it just showed up on my door, and
You're like,
I
who
was
did
trying to think.
this?
I was like, who sent me something random? So appreciate you. Merry
Mhm.
Christmas, man. But yeah, Substance is just one of those once in a lifetime type of movies to me. To be able to sit in the same room with an audience with a movie like that, it just blows my mind. So yeah, number one, best picture of the year according to
See, I had to. See,
Chase.
dude, I knew that shit. Like, there was just no
Hell yeah.
way. I was like, when you said it
I was
wasn't
gonna
in your
say,
top 5.
yeah, I was saying the same thing. I was like, there's no
Yeah.
fucking way, dude. This is like you're on the Substance. That must be what's going on.
Yeah.
You
I
think
took
that,
it.
bro.
He's here be
I did
like,
the
Sonic's
activator.
number 1, and Jim Carrey gave the performance of a lifetime, and
My
yeah.
headset. Well, okay, so let me address because just to throw you guys off.
He's like, I
Neither
need
of
to
you
shout
guys.
out Sonic.
Yeah, I do.
I'm gonna try to watch it this weekend, bro. I'm
Okay,
actually gonna try to
so
see it.
just to give a heads up, Sonic. I really thought about putting it actually on my top 5, and it probably would have landed in the second slot. There's just so many good movies, but there is one thing about Sonic the Hedgehog 3 because I actually haven't talked to you guys about Sonic. It's an improvement over the second one in every way, but this is also Jim Carrey's last movie. I know he said that last time,
Oh, I
but
didn't know that.
it's cemented this time that this is his last movie, and there's this fourth wall break where he says goodbye to everybody as like
Oh,
an
wow.
actor. And bro, like even talking about it, it's like I just grew up a huge Jim Carrey fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just so fucking sad, man. I don't know, man. You know, my age sitting there with kids and I'm over here crying because like, no, you're gonna be in the next
Damn.
three
Oh, man.
Sonic. You're gonna be until Sonic 10, man. No, you're gonna be 70 with a cane being Robotnik. But yeah, shout out Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but there's just no way in hell you can replace an experience like the Substance. But yeah, if you don't know or I haven't talked about it on here before, I know we've definitely joked about it, but I'm a huge Sonic nerd. Love the first two movies, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is easily one of the best movies of the years. But I'm
Hell yeah.
also I'm an honest person. That's like my childhood speaking when I say it's one of the best movies of the year. So yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Damn,
Hell
I didn't
yeah.
know that was his last movie. Holy crap. So I'll definitely try
Well,
to watch
he
it this week.
retired after 2, but I think it's because the script was good, and he's easily the best part of the third movie, man. Like,
I've heard
you
good things
go in
about
for
him.
Eggman. Yeah, you go in
Yeah.
for Eggman.
Oh, then I'll try to catch it this week. So number 1, for me, guys, was actually it grew on me as the year progressed because I saw it in theaters. I really liked it. It wasn't the movie I thought it was going to be when I saw it, which kind of left me kind of iffy, and I wanted to see it again. I saw it when it came out on disc and liked it a lot more. I saw it a third time just a few months ago, and I just fucking love this movie, man. And it was Civil War is my number 1 for the whole year.
Hell yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it just
Hell yeah.
every time I saw it, dude, I just love it more and more and more. It's such an uncomfortable fucking movie to watch, and I think some of the reality in terms of just not war, but just also like kind of with how our country is right now. It's
Yeah.
it's fucking terrifying, dude. And but it's
is.
shot so well, and it's it wasn't the movie I thought it was going to be because I remember when this movie had its trailers, it looked like some like everyone was like, this is A24's kind of action movie or first big budget action movie, and
Yes.
that at all. You know what I mean? It was a very
Yeah.
personal movie. And shout out to Kirsten Dunst, because honestly, if Demi Moore hadn't been in The Substance this year, I probably would have given her Best Actress for her performance in Civil War because I think she did a fucking fantastic job. I'm in the same boat with you, Will. I think sometimes she's like, she's kind of flat, but then sometimes she just like, hits every note. And I think in Civil War, she does a fantastic job. But that movie just stuck with me. I saw it a few times over the year, and each time I popped it in, man, I just liked it more and more. And it, when we were making this list, I was like, "Fuck, it's Civil War." That's my top number 1 for the year. So shout out to Civil War as my number 1.
I did not expect that. I'm not
I
gonna
didn't
lie.
either.
I really thought it was gonna be Dune. I really thought your list of all of them. I think I've got his number 1, just like last year. I was able to call it. We'll see. But dude, there was no. There's no world where I wouldn't have bet a lot of money that your number 1 wasn't Dune 2, bro. like I would have won
Dune,
every single bet, but no, man, that's crazy. But hell
it's a
yeah.
phenomenal movie, dude. I just think
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's just, because we see so many movies too that it's Dune, as masterful as it is, it's still kind of, you know, for the most part, kind of how it plays out. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
going in there, you know what I mean? And I think now with, you know, going to the movies and, you know, you want it to be an event, you want it to be something different. You're always looking for something just kind of unique and something that's gonna take you for a ride. And I think that's what
Yeah.
Civil War was for me, because I went in there thinking it was something that it wasn't, and that, you know, and it at first it left me kind of weird, you know, coming out of the movie theater, but I just loved it more and more. And I was like, this movie's fantastic. It was not what I was expecting at all. And I think that's what I appreciate about it so much.
Yeah, dude, well said. And I want to
Yeah.
shout that movie out for being the most like traumatizing experience in Dolby Cinemas,
Oh,
because the
fuck,
audio
dude.
mixing in that is insane. But like, man, we'll be talking just like this, then all of a sudden it's like bah, 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 bah,
Gunshots.
bah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you hate that shit. I know you hate. I think I told you before. Didn't I text you
Yeah.
before the movie that I was
You were
like, there's
like,
some
dude,
jumping
yeah.
moments? Yeah.
Yeah, like, bro, be prepared. When it gets
Yeah.
quiet, it's about to get really loud.
Yeah.
But I respect it because that's what war's like. It's very sudden.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to Warfare. Speaking of piggybacking off of that, and to kind of plug that in,
Mm-hmm.
that's Alex Garland, and he deserves so much more respect than me forgetting his name. But there's a former U.S. Navy SEAL that he's directing that movie with,
Oh, sweet.
co-directing. Yeah, Ray Mendoza apparently was a Navy SEAL for 12 years or something.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah.
A24's next
Mm,
military movie. So Gabe, keep an eye out on that because you
hell
might be
yeah,
stoked
dude.
for that. But
Exciting.
yeah,
That's
Mr.
number one.
Will,
Mr. Will, I'm curious.
how are you gonna
What?
validate me, sir?
How am I going to validate you? I'll tell you how I'm going to validate you. Hold on one
Let's
second.
see. Let's see what he's doing
He's
here.
got to get something. What's he grabbing off the shelf?
I have no
Sorry
idea
for
what this
me
man's.
bumping into my mic. This is how I'm going to validate you. Okay.
Let's
This is how I'm gonna
go.
validate it, okay?
Yes, I called it.
Okay.
Yes, let's go.
So
I
it was
knew
going to
it.
be Nosferatu. Okay.
I
But
knew it.
like I said, I was thinking back, and dude, I just can't ignore just how that movie kind of hit me. It just hits you over the head, you know. And again, that's the thing
Yeah.
that some people, I guess, didn't like about it, is that it was so aggressive. You know, not only in the way that it was shot, but the way that it's acted. I mean, it's very in your face, and it's meant to, again, just be. It's a big impact, you know. And again, the theme that it's touching on isn't necessarily something we haven't seen before, as you guys alluded to. You know, it's something that has been tackled a lot. I think it's just the way that it goes about it. It's never been done in a way that's this visceral. Um, it just made me uncomfortable. I had to. I was watching this movie. I was eating dinner. I had to stop eating because I was like, "This is
Not
this
during the
is so
kitchen
well
fire.
done that it's actually making me squeamish." I cannot
Yeah.
believe the amount of talent that went into this, and time I can only imagine. And just to shout out the influences, it's like Chase, you were saying, like, this brought me back to so many different movies growing up, like The Thing,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
the films of Stuart Gordon, you know, Brian Yuzna, you know, like Society, movies like that. And this movie just takes bits and pieces of those movies. There's even shots that are referencing like The Shining in this movie when she's in the
Yes.
bathroom, like pressed up against the door.
Yes. And the
Mhm. The
hallway. It
hallways,
literally
yeah, the
The
has The
hallways.
hallway.
Shining.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yes. Yeah.
everything about this movie, like visually, this movie was such a treat. We already talked about Demi Moore's performance. And shout out to Margaret Qualley, she was great as well.
Yeah,
And Dennis
she's
Quaid,
fantastic.
like Quaid,
Such an
excuse me, who
asshole.
plays an asshole. He is literally like a character based on Harvey Weinstein. He's got to be. I mean, his
Mhm.
name's Harvey in the movie, you know. But
Yeah.
again, it's and people are like, well, it's pretty on the nose. Like that's the whole point, is that it's meant to
Mhm.
be on the nose. It's meant to clobber you over the head. This is not a subtle movie. This is a movie that is meant to be in your face. And you know, I reviewed it on Letterboxd, and I just said like two things. It was like, one, I regret so much, Chase. I should have fucking listened to you, and I will never take heed when you say something again. I will go and just watch it because you
Oh,
kept
see it in
telling me like,
theaters.
you got to go see this. You got to watch this, and I was like, yeah, I'll
Yes.
get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. And I didn't, man. And that's the one thing that I wish I got to experience, was like reactions to people watching this in a
In that
theater. Because
theater.
when I saw this
Man.
movie, I was like, how the fuck, dude, did this get a release? Like how was this released in theaters? This is crazy that this movie got the kind of release that it did. you know?
And it had a lot of
Um,
like, because I saw it I saw it the last day it was out, I think, or second to
Yes,
last
yours
day,
got pulled out,
and it
yeah.
was like half the screen was like half full. Like, there were still people. I
yeah.
think the word of mouth of this movie just kinda kept it going so, like, longer theatrically than maybe it was planned to. Because my theater was like half full, and I'm like, "Shit, this is like the last day or second to last day," and there's
Mhm.
quite a bit of people in there. So shout out to word of mouth and people just giving this movie its due, because I think that helped it a lot.
Yeah, and I wanna
Yeah.
I wanna bring that up. So, like, I've realized because I took a little break from the Discord server, just holiday season. I get busy at work a lot. And actually, a lot of people have been saying that to me lately, man. After I've gotten back, they're like, "Any advice you put me like, when I put people onto Argento or something, they're like, you got this. I just know what to recommend." So like when I'm like, "Gabe, watch this, watch this," it's because like, bro, there's something in
Yeah.
my head for one of you two that's like triggering the Will or Gabe alarm over here, and
Yeah,
it's like,
dude, like, Strange
Will
Darling, he
will
was
love
texting
this.
me, like, for a few days on that one, and I was like, "Okay." I
Yes.
do regret that's my biggest regret, is not seeing that one theatrically, and I
Oh,
had a
dude.
chance to, and it was a 10:30 screening, but I was just so fucking tired, I was
I
like, "There's
remember
no
you
way I'm gonna
saying
go
that.
see it."
Yeah.
That was my biggest regret, is not seeing Strange Darling theatrically.
Yeah.
So happy you loved that, man. Honestly, that definitely is. Because, like, the thing about Straight Dark this year has also been the year of things like Love Lies Bleeding and Strange Darling. As much as I love them, they're inherently copy and paste. They're
Mhm,
very, very, very simple stories. It's
mhm,
the way
Yeah.
that they're done that makes them different. The substance is probably something, if I really went back and looked in the 1970s or 80s, something that was completely not original and done by itself. But it's
Yeah.
the way that it's done, and that I don't want to take away from any of those 3 different directors. I think it's JT Molnir did,
mhm. Strange Darling?
yeah, and I totally butchered Love Lies Bleeding. It's the same director that did Saint Maud. Another shout out, crazy ass, probably the craziest final 5 frames of a movie of all time is in Saint Maud. If you've seen
Yeah.
that,
Same mod. Yeah.
Oh,
That
dude,
was a
yeah,
Saint
good
Maud.
good
Oh, wait,
ending.
that's from Saint Maud? That's the
Wild
same
ending.
yeah,
director?
yeah.
Same director.
Love Lies
No, dude,
Bleeding,
I
yeah,
love Saint Maud.
yeah. Love Lies
No way.
Bleeding, same
Holy
director.
crap.
I I I think you'll like Love Lies Bleeding, but I don't think it'd alter your top 5. I
Okay.
don't, only because of the last 10 minutes, man. That's the only reason. I'm pretty sure Will might agree with me, but, otherwise, I'd say give it a fair shake. But, yeah, there's just been this year of things being done with artistic or different artistic value, and that's one of the reasons I'm super excited going into 2025. I can't think of a lot that's on my immediate radar, kinda like we knew Furiosa was coming out, and it's so we had something to look forward to. We knew Dune 2 was coming out. There's not a whole lot I'm excited for right off the jump, but January and February were slow last year, so let's hope we get another Abigail level surprise because 'cause I'd be really stoked for
Yeah,
that.
that'd be
Yeah.
cool. Sweet,
But
man.
yeah, I think that's a great list. Honest, man, as soon as Will said Nosferatu at 2, I already knew what his number 1 was. Because it was either gonna be, because I remember seeing him give it a 4.5, but we haven't talked about it, but I just know you at this point, man. I was like, "I know this is number 1
Yeah.
or number 2 material for you at
No,
least."
it marinated with me, and I was like, dude, I can't. I'm probably gonna end up changing that to a 5 because it's like I'm thinking back. I'm just like, dude, that movie. Out of all the movies that I saw this year, okay,
Yeah,
it was the movie that just hit me, dude. It just hit me. I was like, holy shit, this is
yeah,
a wild movie. Like this
Yeah.
movie is just
yeah,
wild.
yeah.
And there was just something about it, like even like the amount of blood and just the discomfort that it made me feel with the prosthetic effects and even the nudity, man. Like again, there's like scenes in this movie that are there's nudity in it, but it's also very provocative at times. And that's the whole point, is that it's meant to be in your face. But I love that about it. I love that it wasn't, PC, because it kind of took me
Mhm.
back to, again, like movies in the 80s that were like that, where these directors really just didn't give a fuck, about what they were, who they were offending, or what they were trying to, avoiding anything. I mean, this movie was just in your face with its
Mhm.
messaging, and I love that. And again, it's not something that we haven't seen before, but it's the way that it was told. I just
Yes.
think that
Yeah.
it was such a beautifully made movie, and one that I can't wait to watch again. So yeah, The Substance, dude, number one. But dude, all great picks though.
Phenomenal.
Civil War too.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that one, and one of the things I love about that movie is like it is so subtle at times, and then with the sound design, it catches you so off guard. But that's what it would be like. It's like the
Mhm.
the the moments of chaos that kind of take place within that movie. But then in between that, you have these really charismatic performances from like Kristen Dunst and I forget, it's the girl who played,
From Alien Romulus, I forget her
from
name.
Alien Romulus,
Yeah, she does a fantastic
Kaylee
job
Spaney, I
too.
think her
yes.
name is.
Yeah.
Kaylee
She was
Spaney,
really
yes.
good. I really like their dynamic, and yeah, Civil War is great, dude. I think it's one of those movies that definitely grows on you over time, and I that's the thing. I think it was just overshadowed by a lot of stuff like earlier on in the
Yeah.
year.
Came out super early this year. And I just
Yeah, and
think
as the
too.
year went on.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the movies too that we've talked about, because I think and Chase had that good idea of doing kind of a retrospect later on after watching more movies or rewatching them, because that's the thing. It's like if I had just seen it once, it may not have made my top 5 this year.
Yeah.
I had to watch it a few times, and I think that this year, out of more years than I've noticed, is like there's been so many movies this year where you've had to watch it more than once to really process it and
I
digest it.
agree with that,
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah.
I've
it's been a
rewatched
weird year.
the same movie multiple times over, probably more. Yeah, I went and saw Substance twice. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I've double dipped quite a few times, man, now that you mentioned
Mhm.
that. This is the
Yeah.
year of
There's
double
just something
dipping.
about it that it's like you need to watch it again. You're like, "That was kind of a weird" that's how I felt with Civil War, just walking out. I really liked it walking out, but I was like, "That was a weird experience I wanna kind of experience again." And I loved it each time I saw it, I just loved it more so, but I think a lot of movies this year were that way, which
I
is a
love
good thing.
that though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is a good thing. I don't think we should be able to just watch a movie once and come to like a complete opinion unless it's something that like you just know is really bad, like Tarot
Yeah. Tarot, or the
or
swimming
that
pool one, Night
Roadhouse
Swim.
remake or whatever it was.
Yeah, there's been some
Yeah.
flops this year too. Um, but yeah, 2025 is gonna be interesting, guys. I don't know. Like I said, like what Chase said, I can't think of anything that's on my radar for 2025. But
I can't
Um,
either.
yeah,
Wolfman.
It looks like The Fly. I don't know, man.
Wolfman, yeah.
That trailer
yeah.
looked
But
like The
what's his
Fly.
name that does Lay Whannell? So he's the one who did the Invisible Man, and he wrote for Saw.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
He's doing this one. He's writing and directing this one too. So
Interesting. It
I
doesn't look
trust
super
him.
much like
He's
Fly,
pretty
but
creative. Yeah, no, I
yeah,
know what
I
you
don't
mean though.
it looks like The Fly, bro. Like, it doesn't, but it
Yeah.
looks like The Fly. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go see it regardless, but yeah, that'd probably be the earliest one that has the potential to be like, okay, what's 2025 looking like? Is it gonna be a bummer? Is it gonna
Well, I
because
think
they're planning
too.
a whole
Yeah.
reboot of this type of stuff right now.
Isn't this
Right.
year gonna be, and Will may know more than us, but, like, I think this is where we might start seeing some of the strike stuff play out in terms of, like, not as many releases?
That
Yeah,
would have to
they
be up.
they were saying 25 because I mean the strike was 2023, so a lot of projects that were put on hold that
Yeah.
year were probably completed in 2024. Um, yeah, they were saying late 2024 to 2025 is when we might start seeing like
A
I guess
drought
we could say
kinda.
like a bit of a drought, but I'm going to be optimistic, man. I mean, there's still plenty of movies that are coming out. I mean, just to name a few off the top of my head, 28 years later. I don't know how
Oh,
excited
yeah,
you
dude.
guys are about that.
I'm
I'm
ecstatic
interested to
about that
see
one.
that. Danny Boyle and our boy, we just mentioned him, Alex Garland, teaming up again for
Mhm.
the third installment of the 28 Days Later franchise,
Yeah.
which is so interesting to think about all these years later. Ballerina for you John
Yes.
Wick fans
Oh,
out there,
yeah,
another
huh?
big release. Yeah, man. I mean, there's gonna be there'll be plenty of movies. It's just a matter of you know,
Yeah.
what's gonna
What's gonna get shifted around?
yeah, and we may see some of that, but I mean, what this James Gunn, I know he's bringing out the Superman movie. The trailer just dropped for that. I know a lot of people, in that world are excited for that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, there's definitely stuff coming out. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of horror movies that are already slated too, because that's usually my big thing at the beginning of the year is I try to see
Yeah.
what's coming
Isn't
out for horror. I know,
Screams what is it, which one are we on now? Is it
yeah,
7 or 8? What the fuck?
I think it's 7 that's coming out.
7.
Also, we're
Yeah.
looking at Frankenstein, which Del Toro is doing, so that should be
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
I'm trying
Yes.
to just think of stuff off the top of my head, so forgive me, guys, if I'm like, not mentioning
Dude, you
anything because
listed more
again,
than
I'm
me
just
and
going
Chase
off of
could, because I just was my mind was blank when he said 2025, I couldn't think of anything.
I think we're getting another Avatar movie, if anybody cares.
No, I don't know. Are
I
you
I
like
don't,
serious,
but
watching
bro?
them because you forget about them afterwards. I like the worlds. They're not
yeah,
like, oh, greatest
They're
movie. It's
just
just I
so
like the
forgettable to
worlds. They're
me.
yeah,
pretty. You know what I
Yeah,
pretty
mean?
they're pretty to
straightforward, man.
watch.
Yeah.
I'll watch it. I'm gonna be in the theater to watch it, but it's just like as soon as you walk out, you just forget everything that happened. So yeah. But those are our picks, guys. I think we're gonna do a separate video when we can to actually focus on top 5 discs that came out this year in terms of like video presentation and audio
Yes.
quality. We're going to do that in a separate video. So hang tight for that and let us know in the comments what you guys think in terms of what the best theatrical releases were this year. There were so many movies. And just a reminder again, if we didn't say a movie that you thought would 100% be on here, we just didn't get to it. We're going to catch up. We might do that retrospect and just be patient with us. But let us know down below movies you guys thought would what made your top 5 this year. Like, subscribe, and as always, we appreciate you guys for watching.
Yes, thank you guys, and please go into the comments and let us know how right we are on our rankings. We appreciate
Or how
you.
wrong.
Appreciate
you guys
everybody.
later.
My number one should have been it should have been Roadhouse, because obviously that was the fucking best movie of 2024.
I
Roadhouse.
didn't watch it.
Shout out.
Shout
to
out.
Road.
That's it.
See you guys